The Z to Z Podcast.
Good morning, good evening, or good day, and welcome to the Z to Z Podcast, the home for Xbox achievement hunters and gamerscore junkies. I'm your host, Brandon Freem, and thank you so much for listening. At Z to Z, we love gaming, and in particular, grabbing achievements and gaining gamerscore. We do news, reviews, and interviews. If it's about achievements, we'll unlock it. This week is a community show. Terrigan and Crandy can't make it, so I've had to reach out to our community for some help. And the response was awesome. We've had a ton of you respond and say you want to be a part of the show, and so we will definitely have to do this again, and we will offer some UK-friendly recording times as well. So if you missed your chance this round, you'll have another shot down the road. Random.org picked Big L, Matriarch, and Prue this time around. Should be a treat. You can find show notes for this show as well as previous shows on our website, z2z.com. This is episode 24. You can also contact us with questions and comments on Twitter at Z2Z, or email us directly, contact@z2z.com. Today's show was brought to you by the achievement Hero of the Day from the game World of Tanks. This achievement was chosen in honor of Memorial Day, a United States national holiday honoring the soldiers that gave their lives in service of our country. Although Memorial Day is a U.S. holiday, the Z2Z podcast would like to acknowledge all the brave men and women from all over the world who died in service of their own countries. World of Tanks is a free-to-play game on Xbox 360 and Xbox One. Started with 229 achievements back in February of 2014, this game has since added 8 title updates, pushing the achievement count up to 95. The most recent update just came out, and that would be 3.0. This particular achievement came in Title Update 1.9 and requires you to earn 20 or more ribbons in a single match. There are 6 different ribbons you can earn each match that contribute because damaging enemies doesn't count. And your best method of getting ribbons is to get a light scout tank with great sight and be the first to eyeball those lumbering tanks moving across the battlefield. You really don't even want to shoot because you'll lose your camouflage and sight bonuses. Special thanks to developer Wargaming.net and publisher Microsoft Studios. And if you, our fantastic listeners, have a suggestion for an achievement sponsor, let us know. You can contact us via Facebook or Twitter at Z2Z, ZEDTOZED. Of course, our email, contact@z2z.com, or even leave it in a podcast review. So I'm going to start the show a little differently because it's just me right now. I'll get the intro content out of the way. And unfortunately, I'm going to skip Crandy's mug because I don't have a mug that I care to share, and I'll let him do it on the next show. But I will share with you the Twitch stream that I had last week for Dark Souls. It was round 2, and any of you who have since seen the quote-unquote highlight video, it was a total disaster. I had not made it to the next bonfire. I guess I made progress. I killed that one boar-looking boss. I spent an hour and a half, and I really didn't make any progress. It was pretty bad. And then not until afterwards, so I decided to look online and see if that's where I was supposed to go. I mean, it's pretty linear at that point, and there's a bad guy that I was struggling with, and I was just getting too late, so I was like, I got to be done, and hopefully I'm going to try it again tomorrow. As of recording, this would have been the Saturday just previous, so there should be a third Twitch update in there. I totally forgot that you lock on to characters. And I did it in the first run too. When I had the first Twitch stream of this, I kept forgetting to use the lock on. So I was doing everything freehand. That's obnoxious. So hopefully I can remember to do this my next time around, and we give it another whirl. We're going to try and do better about posting when we're going to stream so that there's a better heads up. I mean, even for what I intend to do tomorrow night that had happened then when this is released the Saturday previous, you will have seen it on my friend feed and Twitter, but likely that's kind of a last-minute thing because I just don't know when I'm going to get on. But we're going to try and set a calendar time so that people can get there. I know Terrigan had mentioned he wants to start doing some streaming and even pick some games that maybe the community can be a part of. Speaking of community events, the random to-do list is clicking right along. We're doing the beta testing, obviously, and it's working pretty well. So Terrigan and I are finalizing the rule set, and hopefully we'll be able to announce the full-blown contest for everyone to sign up here in the very near future. So there will likely be a limited space unless we can reach out to True Achievements to help manage some of the scanning, because it takes a long time to get everyone's data since there's so many achievements out there and we have to run all the algorithms. I don't know. I don't know how TA does it. I think the massive server farm that they're sitting on, well, maybe it's not massive, but that probably helps. With all those games that I'm talking about, Terrigan wants me to update his games list specifically for you, McLovin. But anyone who else is interested, he had a busy week this week, and I contributed. I certainly didn't help at all. But ones that he picked up himself. Here we go. Grand Prix Rockin' Racing, Active Soccer 2 DX, Super Knight Riders, Level 22, Shred It, Skyline Garden Defense, or Skyling Garden Defense, Coffin Dodgers, Factotum 90, Crinkle Crusher, Reagan Gorbachev, and Mega Coin Squad. Those were all relatively easy, quick games. I think percentages around 10 to 15% complete. So not gimmies, but some good gamer score there. I then purchased Zombie Army Trilogy in the sale, Rogue Legacy, The Escapists, The Walking Dead, and although Terrigan already has it, I put Halo Master Chief Collection on my card. I know it was a terrible idea, but it was like $13. I mean, how can I not? So yeah, bunch of new games on our card that we'll never get to, as we're wont to do. One final thing we want to touch on is the monthly challenge update, right? It's the end of the month, and we were presented with a challenge between hosts to get something going each month. And so we picked some games, and we went head-to-head. And it was fun, kind of. So we need to modify it a little bit to make it more interesting. So, for instance, the games that Crandy had against Urban. So Crandy picked Halo 4. Neither of them played it. So technically Crandy won because he started ahead. Urban picked Wick, Fable of Souls. Neither of them played it. So Crandy was ahead in that one too. So Terrigan picked D4 against me. Neither of us played it. So technically I'm ahead on that one. I picked Ori in the Blind Forest against Terrigan. Neither of us played it. And then I had a side one of Project Spark, which, yeah, okay. Right, we're working on Project Spark, so there's some progress there. He's ahead of me right now because he has one achievement left, the weekly login one, and I think he still has 4 or 5 weeks left. I've been doing one achievement a day for Leapfrog, so I'm going to, in theory, finish in 3 days. So by the time this airs, I should be done with it, provided I can get that Unstoppable, the one where you have to beat Voidstorm with all of the characters without dying. So I did it, but apparently I loaded one of them in the middle somewhere, and so I'm 95% complete on the in-game tracker, and I don't know which character it is. So I effectively have to beat it all over again with all 4, and hopefully it's relatively early in the game. I can't imagine I died early in the game, though. It's so easy. But I don't know which hero, and I don't know which level. So that's kind of obnoxious. That might take a little longer. Thankfully, I've got the nice holiday weekend to take care of that. Crandy picked Tomb Raider against me, and he obliterated me in that one, right? He was already working on that. We were at the same point, essentially, with multiplayer. He just needed to get the last 2 hard ones. He just ripped right through the story. I didn't even pick it up. And the one that was most interesting was the one that I posed to him for Geometry Wars. And it's only interesting because we both worked on it. And it's a skill-based one that's pretty easy. I even tried again tonight before recording the show. It was bad tonight. But I managed to tie him up at 5 out of 12 achievements. We're locked in at the 250,000 points without dying. That's kind of our cap. Neither of us have hit 500,000 yet. So it was kind of a race to 500,000. I don't think anything that's going to happen before June 1st when we officially end this. But yeah, maybe I'll give it a try this weekend. So that one's effectively going to end in a tie. But that was the good one, right? Because that was one that we both kind of worked at. So that led us to think, all right, how can we make this contest a little bit more intriguing, a little more fun? So we're going to have it's going to be a new segment, and we're going to call it Playing Zed. And how it's going to work is a host is going to pick a game and a challenger. So in this instance, so for today, we're going to start a new one, and by the next show, it'll be this week, I am challenging Crandy to the game In Between. It's a brand new game, 2D puzzle platformer that heavy on the puzzle, and we got it as a review copy. So we're going to kind of tie that in with a review of the game and a head-to-head challenge between Crandy and I. So that should be fun. We both agreed to do it this week, and we'll see how it plays out. We might have to put some stipulations in there about, who completes it first, how long it takes, gamer score earned versus achievements, or I don't know. We'll just see how it plays out for the week and what kind of scoring. Maybe we can put it to a vote who did the best at the end of the week. So I don't know yet how it's going to play out, but I'm hoping I beat Crandy to it. I know he's traveling, so hopefully I can get him on a bad week. That's why he's not on the show tonight. So moving forward, though, it doesn't have to be one of our hosts, one of me, Crandy, Tarragon, anyone picking on anyone else. We would love if we had a community challenge per week, too. Right? If we had, I don't know, I mentioned McLovin earlier. McLovin says, hey, you know what? I think I can take you out in Geometry Wars 3. Let's go head-to-head. Whatever. We would love that opportunity, and we can set up, a week-long goal, talk about it on the show, and see what we can do. If you're going to issue a challenge, talk to us ahead of time so we can commit to playing that game. I think what happened with this April or this May challenge was at the start of the month, I wanted to play all the games, Ori, Tomb Raider. I was totally down for playing D4. And then the news came of server closures for Project Spark, Disney Infinity, Quantum Break was nagging me to finish. And so we just kind of lost interest and had to go do other things, right? Focus on other games. So I think if we can just pick a week in advance, this is actually going to work. So we're calling it Playing Zed. And I think this is going to be successful. I'm hoping it will be. And what we'll try to do is more kind of action-y, arcade-y type games, more skill-based things, because, really I don't have that much time to play. So I need something that, can test our abilities and not necessarily test how much time I can ignore my family and kids, because that's not going to work out good for anybody. But we got a ton of those. I mean, I just read a list of games that Tarragon just bought. Those are all great arcade games. And so certainly he and I can go head-to-head on a bunch of this stuff because we both we game share, have the same games. I don't know about Crandy if I can convince him to, start a new game since he's so terrified of putting a new game on his tag. Just kidding, Randy, when you hear this. I didn't mean that. But I welcome any challenges out there. So I think that's going to do it for our intro content, and now I'm going to introduce my co-hosts. All right, and here we are tonight. I'm ready to introduce my co-hosts who have graciously helped me from the community. We have M is here with us, Michelle, Matriarch, all the above. Yep. How are you tonight?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you?
Fantastic. We are also joined by the legend himself. Big L is in town.
Greetings and salutations.
Look at that. Your budding podcast career is already getting started. I'm excited. And we're also joined one other East Coaster. We have Prue. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I am doing fantastic. Thanks for asking.
Wonderful. Okay, well, so we're kind of moving into now that we've got random.org has reached out and said you are the chosen few, and the pressure is high because RNGesus has selected you to be a part of the show. JJ Aldana went on my friend feed and said that he nominates Facial LaFleur. So hopefully you guys can outperform. And of course, we've already lost one listener in McLovin Legend because Big L's on the show. He's not going to listen because, quote unquote, Big L sucks. So, Big L, why don't you take a little moment to introduce yourself? And I mean, you've heard a lot of you on the podcast already, but maybe you can fill in a little bit about I don't know what makes you tick.
Well, hello, my name is Big L. The funny thing about that is that when I join sessions on TA, half the people think my name is Big Eli. Apparently, the L and the uppercase I confuses them.
I could see it.
But you can just call me L. My name is Elliot. I have been with Xbox Live for about 11 or 12 years now. I'm one of the original beta testers for the original Xbox Live on the OG Xbox, the big, heavy weapon.
Right. The doorstop.
Yes, they sent me a beta kit with a game called NFL Fever. A classic that ousted Madden out of the spotlight for many. No, it was a failure. And I think there was like 2 good games to play on Xbox: Halo 2 and Mech Assault. And yeah.
Fantastic. So you're one of those old timey gamers like Terrigan and I.
Yes, I started. Not that old time. I started with the NES. My parents would not get me an Atari. I would go to my friend's house to play Atari. And my grandmother, one year, got me a Nintendo for Christmas, much to my parents' dismay.
I was going to say, best grandma
ever. Yes. But my first memory of Nintendo was in New York, a wonderful place called FAO Schwartz, which is filled with goodness. And I remember I was probably around
giant teddy
5
bears.
or 6, and playing the original Super Mario Brothers, and just jumping around, not knowing what I was doing. And now, a lot of times I play with Michelle. She could tell you I don't know what I'm doing. So
a degenerate junkie is what you are now. Well, why don't we hear from Michelle? Why don't you just tell us a little about yourself, Em?
Well, I am one of those old-timey gamers. We had an Atari 2600 in the house. I remember playing Fast Food on there, and a brother that was supposed to be, paying attention to me, making sure I wasn't, throwing things around the house or whatever, just handed me the joystick and said, just avoid the purple pickles. And that was it.
Does it still work? Is it plugged in?
We have it in a box with all the games in it, but I can't tell you the last time we looked at it even. It may not even be in that box anymore.
I was going to say, I don't even know if you have a TV that has an AV input jack for it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a bit, but I was a late adopter to Xbox, which doesn't seem that late anymore. I did not own a OG Xbox, as I was firmly PlayStation camp because back in the day I played mostly JRPGs. But then I got my Xbox, I guess. It was December of 2008, whatever year it was that they gave Undertow to everybody because Xbox Live sucked for like a day and a half.
Right.
And since then, that's exclusively what I do is the Xbox. But I mean, I played games all throughout, and we had a lot of them in the house. My mom was super awesome about that. We had the Nintendo and the Super Nintendo and a Genesis and a Sega CD and so on and so forth. So have a pretty broad history with it. And I know a lot less about current games, I guess, than I do about the ones I grew up with because I just do the Microsoft consoles now.
Sure, absolutely. Prue, what about you? What makes you tick?
Well, I mean, I guess I'm maybe a little tiny bit younger. I remember my earliest memories, in fact, are of playing the NES. I remember actually specifically coming down from the bedroom one day, and it was a snow day, and I didn't know because it was like 10.
Your parents just didn't bother waking you up.
They didn't wake me up, and I was like, "What's going on? This is so strange." And playing Kung Fu. It's one of my earliest memories, actually.
That's awesome. I remember Kung Fu.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. ho, 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 like this weird noises
Right?
that it would make.
But they sounded so real.
At the time, you bet.
But so I've been a gamer pretty much all of my life. It's been a part of my identity as long as I've been around. So, and then eventually I did have an OG Xbox. In fact, I bought it pretty early on for the Halo experience, and I think through Halo I became an Xbox fan. So that's and now here we are playing for achievements.
Yep.
Absolutely. And speaking of achievements, it's kind of a unique circumstance that all four of us are still alive in Leapfrog.
Woo!
That's pretty impressive. I mean, it's up to, as of recording, 5.8 is the cutoff. And are we all still good for today? I just unlocked mine. Are you guys all still alive?
Well, I have procured an achievement for Michelle and I to get in Rare Replay. Woo!
Yep.
And
Stand by.
there is actually an achievement in Solar Jetman where you type in a password and the achievement will unlock.
Nice.
And that takes
5.8
about
Please tell me that's
1 minute or so.
6.0.
No, it's in the 5.8s.
Darn it.
And,
I'll totally
I-
use that for tomorrow.
I actually have a couple of Leapfrog questions I'm curious to ask you guys
Sure.
about this whole experience. First question, are there any Leapfrog achievements you've unlocked that you're actually proud of having unlocked? That weren't just like a rare replay, this is something easy I can do, but where you sat there and went, this was good, I wouldn't have done it if we weren't involved in Leapfrog at the moment.
Yeah, so for me, I've been milking Project Spark like you wouldn't believe, and I have it set up now. And I mean, it's just fortuitous that the contest coincided with the server closure because I was already actively working on it, and the server closure just put me onto overdrive. And so, I'd been heavy doing it, and now all that's left, I had at the time, 20 achievements left. And so I just looked at it and I was like, hey, I could kind of just time this out one a day. And it works great. And so it's satisfying from the standpoint that I will have Project Spark done and maintain a Leapfrog streak. So that's been really cool. I did sneak in one achievement that was a difficulty related one that I was. Well, maybe it wasn't that bad. I think it was in Disney Infinity that I was like, oh, hey, here's one that just sneaks over the line. And I had to kind of get creative and set up a system to get that to work. So that was the only one I did a little bit of extra effort for. But the last ones in Project Spark here there might be a couple of backtracking I need to do. What about you, Prue?
There are 3 games that have kept me alive in the Leapfrog so far. And that is Rare Replay, as has been mentioned, Master Chief Collection, and Killer Instinct.
Yeah.
Pretty much 90% of the only reason that I'm still in this thing is for those 3 massive amount of achievement games. And I'm pretty sure that's I'm going to ride that train as long as it's going down the tracks, man.
What about you, Big Hill?
Yeah, that seems to be what most of the site is relying on. And Killer Instinct I do own, but I did not purchase the Season 3, I guess it is. So a lot of those big ones are in there. But Rare Replay, yeah, even some 8 and 9 ratio ones for doing some easy stuff, and Killer Instinct and Killer Instinct Gold in that game.
Those massive achievement lists that nobody, you dive in and then it's just nobody ever goes back.
Or even if you just picked one game to focus on and didn't play with the others, and that's what it is.
Yeah, I think I did Battletoads. Like my son and I played Battletoads, and then we were just like, okay, that's fun. Let's go do something else.
Exactly. So you have that game.
I do, and I think I have. I went and did all those easy ones of like start this for the first time. I think I did all those, and then that was the end of that. I think that kept me alive in G-Task last year for 1 week.
Those are the
what was your other question, Zeb?
The other question I had was, at what point do you think you started to pick an achievement that was exactly where you needed? So like, we need a 5.8 today, so you're not going to unlock a 6.0.
It's funny because I've been looking at, I had this thing when I mapped it out with all the achievements that were left in Spark. I looked at the ratios and I'm like, this is easy. Look at all these. They're all like 7s. Like, I'm good for a while now. And then all of a sudden the server closure announcement and everyone got on and all of those ratios started plummeting. And it's like, oh no, quick, I got to get in there. This one's getting close to the threshold. I got to make sure, and then you're timing things like, so today or this week, it was like, okay, I'm dangerously close to getting to level 45, but I really should unlock the Avalon challenges first because that's a lower ratio and I should do this. And then, so I've been paying attention to it a little bit more, but I'm still in pretty good shape. As far as like how long I'm going to last, I have 4 achievements left in Project Spark. So I've got 4 days in theory, and then I'm going to try 3s. I'm going to use that solver that Terrigan has and see if I can get maybe 3 more days out of this thing. But I think I got a week left in me, and that's it.
It's funny because it was actually just the past couple of days. Like I had. They have the handy dandy little button there on True Achievements. It's find all valid achievements,
It's been so
and
cool.
it's fantastic. And for the most part, I've had like 20 to 30 achievements that I could choose from. So I would go through and be like, no, I don't want to do that. No, I don't want to do that. And then now it's like, maybe I have to dip into the next day's achievements to kind of pick one that's something I can do. So I'm starting to kind of feel the pressure on that for sure.
Yeah, honorable mention to Worms Battleground. Has a lot of easy ones in the 5s and 6s, just because the game was free, and the same thing.
Yep.
People played it once and didn't touch it. So
Yeah,
another
absolutely.
one. That's good. I was going to say, Michelle should tell you her thoughts on 3s and why she will never play it.
Whole different conversation. You don't want a 4-hour podcast. The Cliff Note version of it is I can't deal with gamer score. It doesn't end in 5 or 0. I can't do it. I can do it for like a month, and then I have to. I just can't. Every milestone
just
that comes
unlock
up,
everything.
I don't want to get hit 275,002. I want to hit 275,000 or whatever's coming up. So I can't.
Well, so for me, I have it's a dumb milestone coming up, but I am like 1,000 gamer score away from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Nice.
So I'm trying to hit that on the head. And so I'm at a 5 right now. So it's like, okay, I got to find a 1-pointer or a 6-pointer somewhere. And I've identified one, but it's like, I don't want that to be my achievement. So I should unlock that first and then try to hit, some sort of memorable 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 achievement somewhere. There's plenty of achievements out there. You can always get back to it, but of course, having that open, uncompleted game on there is always kind of unnerving. Yeah, and that 12 lock achievement on there is the in my games collection, it's like the 6 over worst TA ratio on site right now, barring any of those crazy new ones.
Right. Well, that's always my hesitation with that stuff is I'll start a game with weird gamer score if I feel like I can get all the achievements that have weird gamer score in it, so I can eventually balance it out in there.
Yeah.
But there are some things where it's I think Infinite Undiscovery has a 1-pointer for beating the hardest enemy in the game, just because they're really brewed that way, and I can't.
There's a couple jerk achievements like that.
It's not like Double Dragon Neon that starts you with a 1-pointer and then you finish it and it evens up your gamer score. That's cool.
Yeah.
You can deal with that.
I'm glad this came up too, and since Crandy's not here, I'm going to bring it up. Since listening to this podcast, I realized, and I've had an uneven score for forever. I mean, for 10 years at this point. And I didn't even know it because I didn't really care that much to look it up. But I think it might be because of Graw. I have 53 points in that, and that is always now I have this weird kind of lingering number, and I'm like, oh man, and I'm never going to do that, obviously. But so it's just now it drives me crazy. Before I didn't even care at all. But
yeah,
whatever.
You don't see it, and now that it's there, you can't unsee it.
Yeah, I'll try to play it cool with it. Like my first week of Ultimate Head-to-Head, I got an uneven gamer score achievement, and I was like, all right, no, I'm participating. I'm going to get this achievement. And I did. But 3 or 4 weeks later, I found something else to balance it out. I couldn't leave it there.
No, I gotcha. Absolutely. So is there any other Leapfrog topic? How long is everyone going to last in Leapfrog? I said I have definitely 4 days, maybe 7 days.
I honestly have not planned ahead past. I just go 1 or 2 days at a time and say I'll get this today and I'm going to get this tomorrow, and that's it.
I hope for the best.
Yeah, I just don't have the time dedicated to win. I don't think so, but it's fun to participate.
It is fun. I think and I think NBA Kirkland wrote it on his feed that this version of it is so much more approachable than the number of achievements increasing. I mean, it's hard enough to keep a streak of 1 achievement per day, let alone 2, 3, 4, 5 as it kept going up. That's pretty daunting.
Well,
I personally hate achievement streaks. Like, it's frustrating that I have to do a game every night. Like, I play every night, but it's frustrating to like, oh boy, I really need to unlock an achievement. With this, it's like, oh, this is kind of fun, right? It's getting harder. It's doing whatever. But you know, it has been much more approachable.
I agree with that. And NBA Kirkland, of course, has to get a quick achievement every day so he can help his wife. That's right, WNBA Kirkland. I had to shoehorn. I had to shoehorn in. I had to shoehorn it in so it would make 3 straight episodes. Thank you.
I should talk to him about it. He's got a couple questions in here for us later on that we'll get to. So let's kind of just touch in what we've been playing this week. I'll start it off real quick. Like I said, Project Spark, been just 1 a day doing this thing. I'm very dangerously close to wrapping this thing up. Should be done by the time I record next week's show. I did touch Disney Infinity 2.0 a little bit on the Xbox One. Again, server things. I got all the multiplayer stuff. Big L keeps standing me up. I'm supposed to help you with the 4-player achievement.
That's your.
You already got that one?
No, I didn't.
We'll have to figure out a time. There'll be an opportunity, I'm sure. So I've been kind of doing that one. I do have some news to report, and unfortunately, it's not. Well, it's not like it's bad news, but so yes, your character levels do carry over. But if they're at level 20, you can get. So I got the first one unlocked with. So I had Rocket Raccoon at 20, and then I got a level up with a different character. It was whoever got to level 19. And the achievement pops for getting a guy at level 20. Awesome. So then I said, okay, well, maybe then you just need to kind of trick the system. Level up means, oh, you got 2 characters at 20? Oh, next level up then. Here's your achievement. So I did it with a level, 8 character, like Iron Man at level 8. Leveled up to 9. The achievement did not pop for my Star-Lord at level 20.
Oh, no.
Now, I'm in a pretty good spot because I've got Nova at 19. I just get 1 more level. And even having to do that again, there are those experience worlds you can create, like just a small little loop, a logic loop that generates XP for you. And you just got to idle it for 3, 4, 5 hours just getting XP. You don't have to do anything. So it's not like it's daunting, but it would have been nice if the achievement would have unlocked. Getting the feats in that game are going to be more annoying than getting the level ups anyway. But so I wanted to make sure I got the multiplayer stuff out of the way. The last 2 games of note, Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2, still rocking that 10-hour trial that they gave us a couple weeks back. Yeah. My son and I are just drip-feeding that, playing split screen. And really all I'm working on is just, doing quests and getting kills and stuff. I can't do any of the other, single-player campaigns or any of that stuff split screen, so you're just kind of killing dudes. But I know I'm working toward Vanquishes, which ultimately is going to help me in the long run, and I'm having fun playing with him. So yeah, you can actually get a decent amount of achievements out of that 10-hour free trial. I know it's not in EA Access when we get our free week coming up at E3, but go back to the old Plants vs. Zombies, give that a whirl, because you get some things that carry over into the new game. I don't know how long that's going to be open for. The final game that I've been playing is I went back to Quantum Break. I felt guilty about starting this, and I played up until essentially the second movie, the second TV show. I had 1 subsection of that Act 2 left to do when I quit, and it's like, oh boy, this is going to be one of those games, because I started it on hard, that if I don't come back and focus, like I'm going to end up being on Act 5 and forgetting how to play and being at the most difficult guys, and just failing miserably. So I went back into that much more significantly. I am through Act 3. I just watched the Act 3 video. It's good. I mean, I like it. I really enjoy the game. It's got its flaws, and it's not perfect by any means, but it's a very enjoyable story. And you know, the length of it is really satisfying. That it's like I'm not feeling overwhelmed by how significant the game is. I can contribute a couple hours every night and be making progress. And you know, the TV shows. I had my first issue with the TV shows where, you know, it's streaming, right? So they show it you know, relatively without impact to your hard drive space. And this last episode, I had some artifacts of the streaming where it stuttered a little, and it was like, oh boy, man, you were so good on episode 2, and now you know, the quality just kind of dipped just a touch. But again, it was, maybe I was just super tired because it it was very late when that swung by. So that was kind of my week. Prue, what about you? What did you end up doing this week? Anything fun?
Well, actually, I'm glad that you came right to me, because I have been working on Disney Infinity 2.0 as well.
Oh, yeah?
And
360 or the one?
The one, yep. So basically, it was a combination of here on the show when you guys were talking about the Toys to Life thing. And then shortly thereafter, I believe, if I remember my timing correctly, Disney announced that they were canceling it. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, well, might as well get in on it now while you still can.
That was not my fault, by the way.
I'm not saying it happened that way, but it kind of happened that way. So I picked up the starter pack, and because it was cheap and on sale, and so I've gotten, as of last night, actually as of today, I've gotten all of the achievements except for the feats.
Yep.
Which you mentioned. That's definitely the grindiest bit of that game. I had to make a gaming session to get the multiplayer achievements out of the way last night.
But that takes like 10 minutes, right? That's
yeah. Oh, yeah. Once you get into the actual session, it's like, nah.
You're issues connecting to people than you do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's exactly what happened. Yeah. We had trouble kind of figuring out exactly where we needed to be. One of us had to be in a brand new toy box. Only one of us could have hosted it. It was really, really strange. It seemed like it was kind of wasn't exactly rock solid. But
it was like doing Roblox when you had to, like, you know, oh, but we need to be friends on 360, and you need to be in like a full moon, and you need to. I mean, it was like just ridiculous.
Is it a Tuesday or a Thursday? Because that kind of matters, you know. Yeah, no. But so I got all that, and today I actually grinded out the 3-hour achievement for
survival.
Yeah, the survival one. That was, by the way, here's a little tip for that. If you have to do this survival thing, it does take about 3 hours if you're going to solo it. But if you just put your console in standby mode, it's okay. So you can actually kind of stretch that out into 2 or 3 play sessions if you want. So that makes it much, much easier, because I worked on it last night and then I was like, I'm going to bed. So I just let my console go to sleep, and then I came up this afternoon and worked on the rest of it. So that's
nice.
Great.
That's a super helpful tip, because mine took 2 hours and 40 minutes straight, and it's like, ooh, that's a big chunk of time. Like that's a late night.
Right.
Yeah. So I got all that, and now I've just got to do the last 2 feat achievements, and then I think I'll move on to 3.0. But that's for another time. The only other thing I've been working on is really the leapfrog, like we mentioned before. So I've done a little bit of Killer Instinct. I've done a little bit of today, in fact, to get all of my achievement for today. I literally had to play the entirety of Halo 3 on easy, as well as 2 other playlists of Halo 3. Luckily, I got out of work early today because of the holiday weekend, so that was nice.
There you go.
That was like a marathon of like 4 or 5 hours. So I don't think I'm going to be in Leapfrog too much longer. That just happened to be a happy circumstance. And then I've been playing this game called Mush on the Windows phone.
Oh, yes, I remember that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I actually just got my Windows phone as a secondary just kind of as a play device about 4 or 5 months ago. So I'm actually going through and playing all these old games that people probably
Long
may have
since
played.
forgotten.
Yeah, long since forgotten. So I'm going through that now, and got some achievements in that as well.
Nice. Well, we haven't heard from you in a bit, Big L. What?
No, but
Yeah, you're just sitting on this powder keg of achievements. I'm
oh
sure.
yes, yes. I have been playing a very brand new game called Shadow Complex.
Super
Yeah,
brand new.
very brand new. I think I got it in probably like 2009 on sale, and for some reason
Didn't that come out in 2010? Summer Arcade.
one of those.
Okay.
And actually, all the talk about Metroidvania games on the podcast brought me back to that one. I had only bean dived it, and it's quite enjoyable, and it's not intimidating either. It seems pretty straightforward, and that's a lot of fun. But I don't do a lot of single player gaming, so I just do a little bit here, a little bit there, and the rest of my time is co-op gaming with M over here, and we've been doing Halo Master Chief Collection. We do Halo 1 and Halo 2 together, and Halo 3 and Halo 4 are 4 players, so we do those with 2 other people. So anything we could do co-op.
You got your fire team all set up for that?
We got our what set up?
Your little fire team? You got your 4-man fire team ready to go?
Yes, we're just.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, so I
Nice.
couldn't imagine playing Halo 3 alone. True that any game that could be played co-op, we're playing co-op. And as a matter of fact, Michelle and I met because of achievements and multiplayer achievements. So anybody who doesn't like multiplayer achievements, haha, we love them, because if it wasn't for them, we never would have met. We met in a Gears of War boosting session, and
Oh dear.
yeah, that sounds awful. But as it turns out, we found out we live 20 minutes apart from each other, so we have been best friends ever since. So
I go
That's awesome.
between like being very grateful for that and thinking it's the worst day of my life.
yes. So we even do single player games co-op, in which we play the same single player game at the same time and talk each other through them. And if we have to
This
read
is
guides
mostly
to each
because
other.
if you've ever had the pleasure of playing with Elle, he can't follow a straight line on a map. So it's like, no, the door is right here, right in front of you. What door? That door. Which door? The brown door. The brown door? The brown door. The one right in front of you. And then sending a picture on the phone. This brown door. The one with the
That's
handle that you use to open doors.
Wait, where's my phone?
Though, like this, that's an artifact of like growing up and having single player games with your buddies, and you'd pass the controller back and forth,
Absolutely.
right? I mean, you collectively battled these games, and there's no internet to lean on when it was like, I remember playing, what were those old like point and clicks, like King's Quest or Quest
like
for Glory
Monkey
or like
Island.
Monkey Island, Willy Beamish. Like, there's just some weird point and click games. It's like, oh boy, what? Okay, I've got dental floss and a stick and some chewing gum. Okay, what do you think I can do with this? And then you kind of talk through it, and you're like, oh, we can make a fishing pole to get the fish to again get the cat. The cat will move and knock the pot down. We can use the pot, and it's, that's almost exactly how those chain reactions go. And it's like that aha moment between friends. You guys are just doing it via headsets.
Well, actually,
Right.
speaking of which, Michelle comes over most weekends, and we actually just went through Monkey Island legit. Well, legit meaning we occasionally used the hint system in the game.
Sure.
But
right.
then we went back over the last couple of nights, and we went through with the walkthrough just to get the under 3 hour achievement and no hints achievement. But we went through legit
Nice.
first, and it took us, I don't know how many in-game hours, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah, something like 7, I think.
But it's fun figuring it out on your own. And these people who use guides to get through Portal and puzzle games,
Right.
I think they're doing a disservice to themselves. And that's sometimes achievements are a bad thing when people play just for the achievements and don't enjoy the game proper. Oh, there's that word again. But I think Portal.
I got to agree with you.
I
on
think
that.
Portal.
I'm on board.
Portal 2 is a great example. I played that one with my wife actually co-op, and we didn't look up anything, and it was just a great feeling that aha moment that we figured it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
So, what about you, Em? What have you been up to?
So a lot of the same kind of stuff. Another thing Elle actually failed to mention is on
Oh,
we do make a point generally when we're hanging out on the weekend to play obviously some co-op games. We've actually been working on The Cave, also.
Oh, yeah.
Along with my brother. So we have 3 of us going at it, and that's been great. And it's another one where you could easily look up a guide or whatever, but having those aha moments of figuring it out, and especially, those somewhat comedic moments when we're all kind of yelling at each other because someone has the idea, but they're not being listened to.
Sure.
But that's all great. And then outside of that, like, I tend to try to find. I love puzzle games. They're totally my thing, and I tend to like to have one in reserve to play when I'm like in between waiting for a session to start or waiting for people to log on. So lately that game has been Might and Magic Clash of Heroes, which was a fairly early game with gold game, and is really, like, I think it's really backloaded insofar as achievements. I think I have 4, and I've put something like 11 hours into it, because most of them require, if you're not familiar with the game, it has 5 different kingdoms, and each kingdom, I think, has a 7 or 8 hour story arc. It can be longer because you can grind for levels and such. But most of the achievements involve finding all of the everything in every kingdom. So it takes a while. So you don't see a lot out of that. And then also on the puzzle topic, I actually completed it already, but sometimes also when I'm over, and I know Elle does this, he plays LetterQuest sometimes with his wife too, but I play it over sometimes too. And I love LetterQuest. I don't know if you had a chance to play it or you know anything about it, but
not yet. But I love those types of games myself, and like so it's on my list of like, boy, yeah, that hits a sale quick or something. I would love to get beyond that, but I'm totally in that same boat of those types of, like, I used to play Text Twist on the computer whenever I had a chance, right? It's my son's bringing home these things from school where it's like a word jumble type thing. Hey, here's 7 letters, and the teacher does a terrible job of find the hidden word, and it's literally just spelled backwards. It's cowboys spelled backwards. It's like the kids figured that out in 2 weeks, but it's like, take the letters in cowboy and how many words can you make? And it's just like those types of word puzzles. Those are just great.
Well, and even that's the kind of game where you look at it, and I played it by myself when I went through it for my own completion, but it's fun to play with someone else because you'll get somebody who sees one thing and someone who sees something better, and you can discuss sort of the strategy. Well, do we need to spell a big word here because we have enough to kill the enemy if we only spell a 3-letter word? So all that works out and winds up being a good time, even when it's not necessarily meant to be a co-op experience.
Well, what about competitive word games like like Boggle or Scrabble? You like that, or you prefer to work as a team?
I love Scrabble. That, like, when Words with Friends got really big on Facebook, I was all in that business for a little while. But by and large, I prefer cooperative play with anything. I like everybody on the team to feel like they won something, and I am often not the strongest player on a team, so for me too, like if I'm playing competitive, if I jump, like when Titanfall came out, I was really into just jumping into random Titanfall games, which I typically don't do. I will typically only play with friends, but I hated that feeling of being the weak link on a team. But when you're playing the cooperative game modes, or just the weak link in general for me, when you're playing cooperative game modes, even if you're just sitting in a base holding a flag or a checkpoint or whatever it might be, you're still contributing. You're still part of what's going on. So I always prefer cooperative play to competitive if given a choice. How about you guys?
I get you.
Preference one way or the other?
I would play competitive if people would play. So, I mean, online it's easier because, especially for word games, because, you just go online, be anonymous and play competitively. Sure. But, like, I like classic board games like Scrabble, and a big one that I try to get my family to play all the time is Scattergories.
Oh, I love Scattergories. I love Scattergories. Yes.
But my family and none of my friends will play with me because they it's like, who's going to be second place behind Brandon? It's like they just give up before they even try, and it's like, come on, guys, like. This is so much fun. Why? How can you not? You challenge yourself. Try to get a better high score or whatever. Well, and they're like, nobody wants to play with me anymore.
I think it's some kind of similar logic to that informs something like playing the Jackbox party pack games.
Yeah.
The better players at it are very good at thinking outside the box. So when you get something in categories like something you put in a suitcase beginning with the letter G, and you answer goat because you have a stuffed pet goat or something like that that's valid, you're going to do well at the game. Where everyone else is thinking like, what the hell do I put? A glove? A glove? That's good. Like they're so literal. So if you're good at that kind of thing.
Yep.
You know.
And it's funny, because now, like, my family, because of that, we always play apples to apples then.
Oh, apples to apples.
And I am terrible at apples to apples because it's like my brain is saying, well, this is clearly the best answer. And of course, it's my niece and she loves, penguins. And so if you had the penguin card, it could be, most ruthless person. And, the adjective is ruthless, and you slide her penguins, and it's like, oh, penguins wins. I'm like, I have Hitler. Like, how does that not work? And I just get so frustrated.
It drove me crazy. In college, when we played that, a group of my college friends had what they called trump cards in that game. And in their playing of the game, no matter what you played, that was a winner. And one of them was Helen Keller. I'm like, Helen Keller is quite possibly the worst answer for 98% of these adjectives. Or these pardon me. Why would she be the one? But if you had Helen Keller, it didn't matter what it was. You won.
Yep.
The 1970s, Helen Keller. What?
Video games was mine.
Me and my friends, when we were playing apples to apples, and when we got a little bit older, Cards Against Humanity, same kind of thing. We had trump cards, but it was specific people trump cards. So, like for me, for example, if you pulled out the Pokemon card or the Superman card, doesn't matter what it is for that. I'm gonna end up picking that card. So it was personalized, so that made it fun. But it was also like there were cards that if you know the other person well enough, that's what they're gonna pick.
Did you play the apples to apples that was on 360? Wasn't that?
I did, and I missed the stupid connectivity one. So I'm sitting at 10 of 12 because I just didn't bother doing the 500 games. I think I'm at 359 games, and I fell asleep in a boosting session once doing
We've
that.
All been
and
there.
So, they have not invited me back. So. Yeah, that's one of those scars that's just, man, that's just obnoxious. Could you just turn it on? It's like Facebook still exists. Just someone steal it from THQ and just turn it on for a day, let everyone know, or just unlock it for everybody.
Didn't all those server closures make you suddenly very aware about licensed products, though?
Oh, yeah,
I find myself
absolutely.
thinking about that now. I'm like, oh, man, this is a movie license. Like, if it has
SpongeBob.
a server or whatever, it might be problematic in the future.
Marvel. Ultimate Alliance. Man, that was like, how fast can you get that done?
Well, remember, Ghostbusters was the rumor, right? It was all going to shut down, and everyone rushed to play it in that weekend. And then they were like, no, we really just meant the PlayStation servers were closing. You guys are good. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we've kind of already broached into it, but we've effectively moved into what the feature content's going to be this week on the show, and it's just kind of get to know some of our community. And so, you've likely gleaned some information, but I got a couple just, kind of questions related to gaming and life and whatnot. But what kind of gamers is everybody? I mean, are you guys completionists? I know you like your co-op games, Em, but is that how you identify yourself as a gamer, or?
At this point, it's hard to say because I like to think that my approach is generally filthy casual because I'll play whatever. I don't really care, but my gamer score betrays that because I clearly play more than the average person would. Well,
it's funny who you compare against, right?
Right.
Because, you could look like a filthy casual against, some really high scores, but then you look at a different subset of people and they're like cheering about 2,000 gamer score in a month, and you're like, oh my God, I did that yesterday.
I went to PAX East a couple years ago, and I was speaking with one of the developers for Gigantic, and, very, very kind, giving his time to speak with us and whatever. And, he's like, we explained this True Achievements to him a little bit. He's like, I'm into gamer score, I have a pretty high gamer score. And, oh, yeah, what's your gamer score? It's 100,000. And I was actually speaking to him with Damien, and we both were like, well, we don't want to be rude, but that's cute. It's like, but, that is a lot. Microsoft says if you're a master if you have over 75,000. 100,000 is kind of obnoxious compared to the average Xbox game. It's a lot of gamer score. But for the most part, at this point, I just want to have fun. whatever I'm doing, I just want to have fun doing it. Achievements are a nice side note to it, but if it's not enjoyable, I tend to give it up a lot more quickly than I would have given it up a couple years ago.
Makes sense. Big L, do you follow suit?
Yes, I do. Yeah, my completion percentage is not that great, but I have a lot of Beam Dive games on there that I never went back to, so it's kind of hard to judge.
That's like me.
Yeah, I have 500 games on my tag now, and let's see, 207 completed. So I do like to complete games, but if something is too hard or whatever, it's not going to stop me from playing it. I have no problem not, beating through the fire and flames on Guitar Hero and Expert. I'll still play the Guitar Hero games. And I will not hook up a MIDI thingy to my computer to get those, unlike some of the people I know. I actually have been
dirty cheaters,
harassing Crandy. Now that I know he's moving to New York, I'm going to be stalking him. One thing I actually wanted to mention about the whole meeting Michelle thing is that we've actually met, I would say at least 10 to 15 people from TA. So it's not just each other. We've traveled to New Jersey to play Rock Band with a couple people, actually. Some of the track packs have 4-player local-only achievements. And we actually, believe it or not, went to Canada to visit a friend.
Man,
we went to Ottawa, Canada to visit Boots Orion. And
to be fair, he actually traveled down to us first.
Oh, that is true.
Like, he has come our way, we have gone his way.
I wonder if anyone's met their love of their life on TA or anything like that. That would be interesting to hear.
Oh,
gotta imagine it's happened.
We know at least one couple where that's happened.
Oh yeah, Chad and Jesse. No idea.
I don't want to give away names or anything like that.
Oh,
but,
okay. Yes. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Prue, what about you? What kind of gamer would you classify yourself as?
That's tough. I would say that I'm I guess a flip-flopper at this point.
John
Kerry.
That's
wonderful. I love that.
Yeah. Flavor of the week?
It's like achievements have been a thing for me ever since my first achievement. Like I was always like, "Oh, that's cool," and then I kind of wanted to get into them, and then I fell off of them, and then I was like, "No, okay, this year I'm going to do it." And then then nothing. And then so I kind of go back and forth on it. Right now, what I work towards is a higher completion percentage.
Sure.
My percentage, I think when I started out, when I really started out, I was at 48 or something, and now I'm at 60. So, it's just working through it. So what I try to do,
climbing.
Yeah, steadily climbing, and I try to, but I also want to kind of experience the new things and just have fun. So what I try to do is balance it. So I for every new game I play, I try to go back and complete another game. That's kind of the challenge that I give myself. Finish something else, then go start something else. So I try to balance the fun with the challenge, and that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I got that. That's cool. Do you remember what your first achievement was that got this whole thing started?
Oh, well, I remember very specifically waiting in line at Walmart, I think. I guess it wasn't that specific if I can't remember what store it's at. I think it was Walmart for a Launch 360, and I got Perfect Dark Zero because, Perfect Dark was so good. How could Perfect Dark Zero not be good?
Famous last words.
Yeah, and so I'm still working on that game.
That's fantastic. What is do you have a favorite game, Prue?
Favorite ever, or are we talking favorite Xbox game here?
I don't care. Both.
Both. Yes, I will answer that, actually. I will say probably Mass Effect. The original is probably up there on my all-time favorite lists, as well as favorite Xbox, favorite completion, favorite. I mean, it's Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3 are better games, but I like Mass Effect 1 the best. And I probably replayed that game 10, 15 times. Wow. I love that game so much.
That is significant. That's unbelievable. What about you, Em? Do you got a favorite game?
Of all time, it's Tetris. Nothing but love for Tetris.
It's like my wife; she loves Tetris.
I have very distinct memories of being 5 years old and like every day before I had to get out to get on the bus to go to kindergarten, I would sit down and play Tetris for a half hour. So it's just been forever, like through all iterations. And actually, last year, Elle had for my birthday, he got me a copy of the Japanese Tetris for the Japanese 360. So if anyone has a Japanese 360 and would like to work on Tetris, I need help.
There you go.
I did the single player stuff I could do, but there's not that much. But I love Tetris. But on Xbox, it's a couple of things. Rock Band was definitely my first. It's the reason I bought an Xbox. It's, I dragged myself 2 hours on buses in Buffalo, New York, so I can get to the mall that was in the area to drag Rock Band home on 2 buses around Christmas time when there were no other.
That sounds like a disaster.
It was awful and amazing at the same time. I had a bus driver when I finally lugged it back onto the bus. She's like, "Oh, your kids are going to be so happy you got that for them." I'm like, my kids?
Yeah. You bet they will.
Yeah, and I have a history of stories with that kind of thing, unfortunately. But I love Rock Band, and I've loved Rock Band since I played Guitar Hero because of harmonics, and played Amplitude and Frequency, so I've sort of followed them forever, and just love that. And then second to that would be Gears of War. I'm a huge Gears of War fan. I've read all the books. I have the Gears 360. I have the fancy pants editions of the games. If there's a Gears Xbox One, I'm in a lot of trouble because I'll probably wind up buying that too.
That's all right. It'll be a slim.
It'll be the fancy version, which we'll get into more detail about, I assume.
Are you looking forward to the recently announced Tetris movie?
I was going to say that myself.
Anyone who knows me will be able to tell you that I have an abysmal history with watching movies. I have not watched very many, and I blame video games. I actually have a very hard time sitting for an hour and a half or 2 hours just watching a movie. I get very fidgety, so I have no plans on seeing it. I don't really care one way or the other about its existence. I don't know how they're going to make it work. I don't get it.
Isn't it? It's supposed to be a trilogy too, isn't it?
Oh, I have no idea.
It's certainly going to be a space, like some sort of space themed weird. Like, I heard the pitch and I'm like, somebody green lighted that? Like, are you kidding me?
Like, it was weird enough seeing Tetris in Just Dance. Like, that they had people like shape. I don't know if you played it, but in Just Dance 2014, I want to say, they put one of the Tetris songs in there, and people that are dressed like Tetris blocks and moving around. Like, that was about as far as I think you can go with Tetris in a real life environment. I have no idea what they're going to do with the movie.
That sounds bizarre. Yeah, I'm super confused. Kotaku just ran a Photoshop contest this last week with the Tetris movie, and I didn't get to look at all the gems. All I saw was one where it had a bunch of Tetris pieces hanging out in the cantina on Mos Eisley. So I don't know. But Big L, what about you? What's your favorite game or games?
Well, my true loves were on the Super Nintendo. Going back to the JRPGs, definitely. Final Fantasy IV and 6,
Chrono Trigger,
and Earthbound, and I could probably go on forever. I feel like Mass Effect, and I haven't really gone into it. I feel like it's so intimidating right off the bat. There's different characters you can choose to be, and even the different dialogue trees. There's like a certain OCD there that just wants to see them all, and I can't see them all, so I don't want to do it. It's really stupid, but how is that, Prue? Is it definitely? I sometimes want it to be more linear. People like all the side quests. I don't want side quests. I want the story.
It's it's really not that bad. Generally speaking, there are actually only 2 or 3 real options that you can go down. As far as conversations go, you can be like, "Oh, I'm talking to you this way," and then back up and be like, "No, I'll talk to you this way instead." There's only like a point of no return during the conversation, maybe once or twice. So basically 2 or 3 playthroughs will let you experience everything that you have to experience.
Okay, cool. I'll have to get back into that. Yeah, I'm also a Gears of War fan. The first one is definitely the game that signified next gen. Definitely looked pretty and was fun. My first completion was actually, I believe it was Street Fighter II Hyper Fighting arcade game. and I completed that back in 2006. So 10 years ago, I got my
Nice.
first completion. That's crazy.
Oh wow!
That
Before I even had
is-
an Xbox
That
360.
is correct. Yeah. Definitely spent a
Yeah,
lot
that's
of
that's-
quarters on that one in the arcade, so it was nice to.
So you're ready.
Yes.
You had practiced up.
I'll mention something else later on when you ask me some of the listener feedback questions.
Gotcha. So in that regards, then, so I've mentioned on the show that I am abysmal at fighting games. What games are you guys terrible at?
I stay away from racing games.
Sims or arcade, or all of
I
them?
guess Sims. I mean, I did the Fast and the Furious. That one wasn't
The
so
Forza
bad.
one?
Yeah, that wasn't so bad. But I
Yeah.
really haven't. Mario Kart was fun back in the day. And
What about you, Em? What are you terrible at?
Well, do you mean terrible as in like not able to play, or things you tend to avoid?
I'll leave that open to you.
Okay.
I bet you have an answer for both.
Well, I don't play sporting titles generally. I don't really play baseball or football.
Is
Or
it because
any
you
of
don't like
those.
them?
No, I just am not interested. Like if I'm gonna play a sport, I'd rather toss a baseball around. I just like that never grabbed me. I'm not against people doing it, but for me personally, it's just the time to, especially football games, like looking at all the different plays in a playbook and figuring out who's doing what. Like I get it if I'm watching it on TV, but I don't really get it when I'm the one making the decisions. I played NHL 94 on my Genesis like back in the day, and that was great. But that's about as far as I went. But I don't know that I'm terrible at them necessarily. I just don't play them. What I find I'm actually terrible at is like I don't want to use realistic as the word, but sort of like the World War II based first person shooters. I'm just not very good. I can get through them through stubbornness.
Sure,
but
right. Persistence is key.
Right. Like there's some folks like, you see how they play these things and everything's so smooth and they get it and everything just works.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say first person shooters altogether because I can play Halo. But those war based first person shooters I'm just awful at. I just don't really get them very well. But I like the games. Just can't play them.
Oh, speaking of
Right,
Halo,
your first achievement's the Purple Heart.
I think it was my second one maybe after like
Yeah.
boosting some other stuff. So
What was that,
I was
Big
going
L?
to say, speaking of Halo, Michelle had never played a Halo game before meeting me,
oh yes, this is true.
and now she's a fan.
Yeah, oh, very much so. I mean,
Question
yes.
mark?
I guess,
Well,
or
I-
should I force her to play them? One of those.
I was actually like, I want to say I was pretty like, I don't know, impressed isn't the right word, but like I was like kind of impressed with myself because I think I made it to 100,000 gamer score without touching a Halo game. And I don't know why, like I had this vendetta against Halo that was a thing for me that I didn't play a Halo up to that point.
Because you liked Gears. You can't
Well,
like
I
both.
did.
Elvis or the Beatles? Right?
Exactly.
Yes.
But yeah, it was there was a group that Elle knew that was doing the stuff for 7 on the 7th. They were doing that playlist or whatever, and he's like, "Look, Halo's $5. Just go buy it, start it. We'll get." And I got the completion in Halo 3, and I haven't completed all of them because I'm not good enough to do the Lone Wolf achievements, but for most of them I have 90% or more of the achievements. I love the Halo games now. We did Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary together and got the completion in that, so
Yeah.
I've definitely become a big fan of Halo.
Before the anniversary
Nice.
edition came out, we actually did it on the OG Xbox.
Yeah,
Played
on
Halo
the
1
OG,
together,
mhm.
split screen co-op. Remember that?
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah, I was talking
Those
to-
were long, miserable
I
nights.
was talking to Prue before the show about I picked up the Halo Master Chief Collection this week, and
Oh, wow.
'cause
Just now?
it was like on sale. Yeah, it was on sale for like $13 or
There you
something.
go.
So I was like, oh boy, I
Oh,
can't
yeah, you
pass
can't
that
pass
up.
that
But I've actually only completed the story in 3,
Okay.
and then Reach.
Okay.
I own 4, haven't played it, and I never went and did 1 or 2. And it's like I'm excited to, like, I want to have those experiences, but because I enjoy the games. But again, it's one of those. It's the Mass Effect thing. It's that's 4 campaigns I have to go through, or that's 3 campaigns I have to go through to catch up.
Well,
That's going to be a long time.
Halo is
So it's
interesting, though, in that like the first game really didn't have much of a story. They kind of backed the story into it. So
Yeah.
if you look at it that way, like the overwhelming thing about Mass Effect is it's the universe of Mass Effect. It's not just the storyline you're playing. It's all the different characters and character types and the long descriptions of each one. Halo is not that way. It's pretty straightforward, the story, and most of the campaigns are short. If you play straight through, they're 6 to 8 hours, if that.
Yeah.
I literally just played through Halo 3 campaign today by myself in about 3 hours. So, yeah,
There you go.
that's true.
Yeah,
I would,
I could see it.
Find a co-op partner. I would recommend that.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's the
yes,
plan.
yeah.
No, that absolutely. Like I was telling Peru, I think my son's getting close, and he's interested in it, like the Halo Mega Blocks, like those Lego toys, and so he keeps asking about it, and I've been very hesitant about introducing him to shooters, and we've been testing the waters with Plants vs Zombies here. Very cartoony, it's fun, and so it's like, ooh, maybe coming up here, Halo might be able to be snuck
Not
in.
very gory. And there's not much
No, not
language.
gory at all,
No.
and you're shooting aliens, which I appreciate.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
There's some swearing,
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
but it's mild.
Yeah.
It's pretty mild. I feel like
I have to give props to the let's see. Oh, life expectancy. Yeah, the walkthrough on TA is fantastic.
Oh, it's so
And they break it up by
Yeah,
level, and it's not very daunting. Yeah, it's perfect.
Great. Well, that would be perfect. So, we didn't mean to skip over you though, Peru. What game are you terrible at, or do you avoid because you're just not a fan, or both?
Generally speaking, if it's not Smash Brothers, I am not good at fighters. I'm terrible. I'm really good, I think, at Smash, but besides that, I can't. I don't know if the inputs are too complicated or what, but it's just like, oh yeah, it's like, it's so funny because you go to these games and it's like, complete the training mode and do these things, and I'm like, I don't know how to go from down to down left to down right, and it's too much for me to handle, and it stresses me out. So I would say fighters is probably my weakest link.
Totally the same way. I remember doing that in DOA 5 last round, where you had the free core fighters, and you could get like 700 gamer score in like an hour. And one of those, after that, to finish the game, it was like an relatively easy completion. But there's one is complete training mode, and there's like 42 training things or whatever, and they literally put the buttons on the screen, like just hit these buttons, and you're like, I'm doing that. Why is it not working? Those I totally agree. They're the worst. You also, Peru, have another interesting side hobby, another podcast that you host. You want to fill the listeners in on this action?
Oh sure, yeah, I'll do it real quick.
You can name drop. Go ahead. Promote your other stuff.
Yeah, I'll just a little bit because I imagine that the cross section between these two groups of fans is maybe not super massive, but we're all nerds, right? So I'm a co-host of a Star Trek: The Next Generation podcast called Earl Grey. So take a listen, search us on iTunes or wherever you get your your podcasts from, like Z to Z.
When you typed that in, I thought it was like, if that's your Earl Grey, and I was like, oh, that's a clever way of saying your cup of tea. But I didn't realize that was the name of the podcast.
No, it is. Yeah. So take a listen to us. We we're up to 140 episodes at this point, so we've been doing this for quite a while.
Wow.
And it's just a lot of fun. So if you're a fan of the show at all, or of the franchise, take a listen to us, and we just kind of have fun going through the whole series, and it's good. It's a good time.
How do you lay it out? Like, you go episode by episode?
No, we don't, because there are a lot of other podcasts that do that. Mm-hmm. So what we do is something a little bit different. We actually kind of try to take a different aspect of the show for each episode. So, for example, last week we would have taken a relationship between two characters, say Captain Picard and Commander Riker, mm-hmm. and we just kind of examine that and say, how did this unfold throughout the show? We talk about it, we joke about it mostly. We have a good time; it's a lot of fun, but we also kind of get into the deeper meanings of what Star Trek has to say, which I think is pretty important. And really excited about the new show coming next year. But that's enough Star Trek talk on this achievement podcast.
Well, we were just trying to get to know you, and I'm sure there's some kindred spirits out there. But you're right. We can focus on Big L and his propensity to come up with funny nicknames. Where does that come from? You just and I assume that you have a notebook with all these written down, and you're just waiting for the opportunity to type them out.
I don't know what you're talking about. Free malicious. No, I don't know. I just like to harass people, and calling them by a different name seems to do the trick sometimes.
Yeah, I can see it. And of course, you likely recognize M's voice as the ex-host of the TA podcast back in the day. Do you miss recording that show?
I do miss podcasting. It was hard because the schedules and the way that they work out, because Rich is over in the UK.
Those UK people are so hard to work with,
and it's that 6 hour difference. And he's running the site. He's got 1,000 things on his plate, and very frequently, I work a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, and then usually on weekends I'm over at L's, so I'm not home very much. So this is a great time for me to record because it's late evening on a weekday. That's typically when you're going to find me in my house. But it was great recording with them, though, and it's same as the vibe here, and that's what you want to get on a podcast. I'm sure it's similar on your Star Trek podcast crew, that it's just people talking about something they love to do, and that's really all we're in it for. But it was great fun while I was doing it, and they've continued to do good work with it. They just released a new one today, actually, which I haven't had a chance to listen to as yet. But it's still quality work, and it's good to hear other people's opinions on things, and they do a good job getting it together.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I mean, I probably have like a library of like 12 to 15 podcasts that I listen to kind of each week. That's why I'm so dreadfully behind. But yeah, just to get different perspectives and, people, you've got different relationships and how they go. Do you guys do other podcasts, other things?
Like listening to other podcasts, or
do you guys venture outside or do other gaming podcasts, or is Z to Z your lifeblood?
That's pretty accurate with gaming podcasts. I do, and I know Elle does as well, listen to some podcasts that are done by former wrestlers, like Chris Jericho has a podcast, and I find him interesting to listen to. And there's a group of guys that they're the Lapsed Fan podcast. They go over wrestling shows like WrestleMania and the old Starcades and all that. And they have like 5-6 hour podcasts, so don't feel bad.
Oh my gosh!
But they're great. They go by in no time at all, and they're really they're fun listens because they clearly just love what they're talking about, and that's really the best part of it.
And this is why I tell people to listen on 1.5 or 2 times speed, because of the backlogs of podcasts. And, maybe this show could take a lesson from Stone Cold Steve Austin. We'll have to talk to Mr. Paragon of Virtue. And every other show is an explicit show. So
we're going to save that for our Twitch shows where we're just going to cuss up a storm.
But then I probably won't want to. I want to now because I can't. Unbelievable.
I see. Forbidden fruit. I get you.
Chris Jericho and Stone Cold. Good times.
Nice.
Good times.
What about you, Prue? You got a collection of podcasts you listen to?
Absolutely. I mean, well, it's tough, right? I listen to.
Star Wars.
I certainly don't listen. I actually don't listen to the podcasts that I'm on. I because of the nature of what I do, and we've done this whole thing for quite a while. We have a whole network, and we build these relationships with other podcasters. I've been kind of doing the podcast thing for a good 2-3 years now. So I never listen to the shows that I'm on, which means I'll actually never hear myself say this. But yeah, no, totally. I definitely listen to. As far as gaming goes, though, I will say that I really kind of zero in on the achievements stuff. So I really like Z to Z has been fantastic for me. And it's been one of the only 2 or 3 podcasts that I've actually listened to episodes multiple times.
Wow.
Interesting.
Very nice.
I don't even think I've listened to them multiple times. And I do listen to my shows back. I want to hear how it comes off. Like if, what works, what doesn't work, if I'm talking too close to my mic, so there's just all sorts of technical stuff I like to do. Plus, I'm a, huge egotist and want to hear my own voice again. So there is that.
I never listened back when I'm on I never heard an episode of the TA podcast I was on.
Were you guys going to listen to this one?
I will download it so you get the traffic.
We get the number,
Yep.
but you're not going to play it.
Yep.
Interesting. You got to hear it though, because Terrigan likes to sneak stuff in. So you'd be surprised what actually makes the show and what. Plus, you don't know the intro. Well, I recorded an intro that you guys haven't heard yet.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Nobody likes to hear the sound of their own voice, I think is what.
This is true.
It's entirely possible. Em, I got a quick question for you.
Yeah.
So you kind of alluded to it earlier. How come you're not part of the I Hate Big L and Wish I Never Met Him leaderboard?
Because I don't hate Big L, I just have a big dislike.
He's in that. He's in his own leaderboard.
Well, I mean, self-hate is a thing. I don't really.
I'm cutting right now.
But hate is such a strong word, and
it really is. It really is.
It has certain implications I'm not comfortable with.
I totally understand. Well, let's get back into gaming. You two guys are both in. You and Big L are both in the GTA SE still. How's that treating you this year?
GTASC is such a strange beast.
It really is.
They so like 50 people eliminated every week or 100. It's like,
well, that's
it's crazy.
The amount of gamer score you need to stay in the team competition is ridiculous. I remember I've been in every iteration of GTASC. So I've been when it was 2-people teams and 4-people teams and 5-people teams, and when it was limited to 50 teams and 100 teams, and then opened up. And most years you could get to like August just playing quote unquote normally
casually
for the way that we play games, and getting eliminated in like February. Trying, like I definitely remember putting up, I think I'll put up some points, like 600-700 points that night, thinking like, oh, this is going to be way more than enough, and then waking up and being like, oh, wow, that's different. But insofar as the individual one's still easier to get by because there's so many people, so you're always going to have that group. My big regret every year is going out without using bonuses. We've never gotten a handle on that. We get these bonuses and the team goes down and the bonuses stay unused.
Because we want to keep them to the end. Usually, that's the only thing.
Yeah.
We actually made it to the finals of what year?
2 years ago.
2 years ago?
3 years ago.
Jeez.
3 years, I think.
Oh my goodness.
They just keep turning them out. Yeah.
And it was mostly due to Connect.
Yeah, because that was the year Boots Orion had come down to New York, and so the three of us were, in Elle's living room working on National Geographic.
Yes.
Was it? Yeah, Connect Nat Geo.
Connect Nat Geo.
Sesame Street.
Yes, there are certain.
Boots very kindly purchased season 2 of Connect Sesame Street so we could all get it done while we were together.
Yeah, there are certain games that pop on all logged-in controllers that are very helpful for these type of things.
Dance Central, I think, is another one that.
Dance Central one is another one. Yes, Connect Adventures.
And
very helpful.
It was a lot of fun. We did not go in intending to make a very deep run, and we had one of our teammates that year just wasn't able to play a lot, and we went through a lot of the year where he wasn't doing a lot, and still, it's the competition, and part of it's wonderful to have as many people as possible involved, but part of the problem with that is that the competition aspect is really only the top 4 or 5 people are even going to be able to pretend at competing, and everyone else is just kind of there for the ride.
Right. No, I totally agree with that. And I vowed not to do it after last year. It was just too much. So I'm going to leave. We're going to end with one final burning question for the community piece here, and it's still yet to be determined among the hosts. There's very differing opinions. Would you rather battle one duck size or a horse sized duck or 100 duck sized horses? We're only on Z to Z to get these hard hitting questions.
This is honestly the most difficult question I've been asked in a while.
Whatever Michelle says, I say the opposite to be contrarian.
Well, that's great. Then I'm gonna go with the duck-sized horse. So
Oh, good. I'll go with the 100 ducks because that way I could probably eat them whole, and I will just defeat that. I'm just hungry. Yeah, I'm just always hungry. I'm always eating sandwiches. I'm eating a sandwich right now. I'm just really hungry.
Oh, yes.
No, I'm joking. I'm not really eating a sandwich.
So there we have it. Yet to be determined. Okay, so moving into news proper, I think the most important piece of news that I tracked down is a price alert drop. Barbie and Her Sister's Puppy Rescue and Monster High have both dropped to $20.
Oh,
I mean, we're getting close to auto buy threshold here.
I know.
Hey, Michelle, can I borrow $20?
So just giving that a heads up. I saw it on Store Parser. It's fantastic. But what I do want to talk about is actually just launched today for you Pro members. I know you guys TA Pro members. The TA site redesign hit. It's fancy. It's sleek. I like it. I'm looking forward to it. Have you guys played around on there at all?
Not really.
I pretty much universally hate every redesign on every site I've ever seen ever. And then 5 or 6 months later, I see a Wayback Machine capture of the old site and go, wow, that was gross. So that's where I'm at right now with the site redesign. And it's mostly because it's new. I think the text is a little smaller, which I'm not so fond of, actually. It looks great. Just the layout of everything looks great. It definitely looks streamlined. And somebody had said on my friend's feed that, especially if you're using a light browser or something like that, it looks much nicer. I find it a little busy personally, where there are 5 different pictures on the front page and all that. But like I said, that's just me. I'm always resistant to when things change their layout, and quite a number of sites I use regularly have changed their layout in the last 3 or 4 weeks. So I think it's just information overload for me. CBS Sports just did it for me.
Oh no!
That was one of the ones I was looking at, and
I don't like
the
it.
way they changed the tabs. So there's nothing like that on TA. Everything's still where you expect it to be. It looks good.
Just the homepage,
I just have to adjust to the font. Well, I think some of the font differences carry over.
The fonts are all different all over the place. I prefer the static images to the slideshow. I appreciate that. I typically don't hit the landing page that often, though. I'm usually on my own personal page or whatever.
I was just going to say, I just start on my homepage and that's it.
I think that's typical of a lot of users on TA, and I think that's why the redesigns are so important, because it's how do you get people to hit the landing page and drive the traffic through there. So I totally appreciate what's going on and why they did it, and it all makes sense to me. I just the new font I think is really my biggest hang up right now. But
I bet there's a forum that you can put that in.
Well, they changed the font when they went with the the redesign with the carousel and all that. There was a font change there too. Yeah. And at first it was like, wait, what? And then you get used to it. You don't even remember what the old font looked like.
Right.
Progress.
Right. That's it right there. The other site news that is kind of worth talking about is the UHH is done. Yes. By the time this airs, it will have ended. We can effectively say that Cacao has taken it down. He's sitting at 19 of 20, with the lone achievement being Seriously 3.0.
Congrats.
If someone pops that, 10 minutes to go, that's, more, you deserve to win. More power to you.
Well, I actually went down 20 to 19 due to my opponent Bean Potter playing Chariot all night to defeat me. So yeah, stranger things have happened.
Yeah, and even Daniel JJ, his opponent, he's sitting at 16 right now, and I mean this final list was actually really good.
Yeah.
It was a really good list, but he made a post, and I think we'll link to it in the show notes because it's in the discussion forums about maybe some changes for next year and how to kind of balance things out as in this home stretch. Really interesting about just how it played out in the semifinals and how it's. I mean, it not sour grapes or anything. It's actually just well written. Like, this was a good contest, and here's some things maybe to improve it for next time. But yeah, and unfortunately, I got kicked out in the first week. But man, I really enjoyed playing this, and so hopefully, certainly I'll play the next iteration. But maybe we can get something in between that scratches this itch. I think you were a fan as well. You had a few blogs about your run.
I was very much a fan, and unfortunately, I got a little derailed a bit because I had an achievement that I had popped that got stuck in done unlocking. And that was
that's the worst.
It was just one of those moments where, and my competitor that week was really like, he'd sent me a couple PMs like, oh, I don't know how well I'm going to do this week. And that's like, oh man, he's popping achievements and whatever, lulling me into a false sense of security. But the first achievement I attempted that week, I was stuck in a done unlocking. And there's nothing TA can do about that. So it was just unfortunate circumstance. But I had a question for you, Frame. Having seen your concept realized this way, like, how do you feel? Are there things you're thinking of that you would suggest as changes for the next iteration?
I mean, yes, there are. There have been kind of some pieces that we had changed from my original content, and I actually preferred TA's approach to how some of the modifications that were made on my initial contest idea, but it didn't change fundamentally at all. And so the crux of the whole thing was still there, and that was really great. And so some of the minor tweaks as far as the timing and the end game stuff, like it's one of those it's one of those things. I think the biggest thing that it was difficult for everybody was the fact that, like, for me, for instance, you started off with 2,000 people or so, and you get to test out 1 week, and if you had a bad matchup or you couldn't get to gaming that week, you're done. And you had a little taste of it for a week, and I was like, man, I really wanted a second list to see what would have come up, or I wanted a third list, or and even if it was maybe a little more casual or something, that it didn't have to be like, oh, this is your week and he's got to, because I think that part of the competition is exciting and it's really intense, but to have an opportunity to just hey, here's a hit list to go after for the month or something.
The year we had gone far in GTASC, they had a B board. So it was sort of, if you got eliminated, you were still in the contest. You weren't in the contest anymore for the top prize.
Yeah.
But you were still able to participate. Would you think something like that might work, where it's like, well, now you're into just what you're saying is true. You'll have people who made it, I think, as far as the third week, where they just wound up with 2 people who weren't playing at all, and they popped 1 or 2 achievements and then got killed in the 4th week, where there were people like yourself who were really trying and didn't get a chance, but that would kind of get sorted out a little more in that second level.
Yeah, I mean, kind of, because again, it comes down to, right, like, it'd be great if, yes, the Snapshot did a wonderful job with the algorithm of getting achievements that were at relatively good locations for both participants, but that doesn't give me more time to game. And so if my opponent has an extra 10 hours a week, it's like, well, okay, that's going to be tough for me. I really got to pick and choose, and I got to, be smart about it. But that's the nature of the competition. So, if there was something, see, I'm more of a personal goal type guy. I'm not necessarily a competition type guy. So, there's some contests run at the Achievement Hounds forums that are more individualized, where it's, hey, here's a goal that you're trying to achieve. You've got a month or a week or whatever to do it, and it's your own motivation driving you to that goal. It's not, oh, you got to go beat this guy, or you got to outperform that one. I can never compete in those, and so they're not fun for me. But I host a weekly scavenger hunt with achievements. It's on my blog. Like, to me, that's fun, right? Hey, this week, find an achievement that has a contraction in it. and you go track that down and put it in my blog, and there you go. And again, there's no prizes, there's nothing like that, but it's fun because you kind of got to search something out, and next week will be the 100th week of it, and so
awesome.
it's find an achievement with the number 100 in it. Right.
Okay.
I mean, nothing crazy, but it's just kind of fun. And you go and if you have a big library of games, you can pretty easily find something. And it's like, oh, okay, I got to do this week. You can kind of dabble in your backlog a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's my only. I liked the competition part of it, but it doesn't fit my play style per se. So. Yeah, I'm looking forward to next run, but yeah, if you want to kind of see kind of what the suggestions were, that discussion thread all over the place. It's long. There was a lot of good topics in there and improvements that could be made. And I mean, like Leapfrog is different this year than it was last year, and I think the improvements are well warranted. So who knows what round 2 is going to be and when round 2 is going to be. Some other news that popped this week, Minecraft is getting a battle mode on consoles. Of course, there's been battle mode on the PCs for ages, but coming up in this June, they have kind of handpicked some PvP game modes and maps that they're going to bring to the consoles. Now, I have yet to see if there will be any achievements associated. They are considered title updates. They're free updates that are getting these PvP, and historically, Minecraft has shoved achievements into free updates. Whether or not this one will is yet to be determined, so keep your eye out on those achievement lists. Rocket League has got its cross-platform play. It went live earlier this week, so you Xbox One users can play with the PC users. For whatever that's worth, there's no achievements or anything associated with it, but cross-pollinating has begun. But what I do want to, well, before I move into this, we have there's some new challenges that went live. Of course, State of Decay has a new challenge every month. This month it's their 3-year anniversary of that game. That's a long one. So they've announced them. Oh, I have the wrong. Here we go. Include upcoming. There's one for, of course, there's the community one, year 3 community one, kill 50 million zombies in the month of June. And then the individual one is called Hunting Season, where you have to kill 200 zombies with firearms in June. The other upcoming is in Xbox Fitness, actually has 2 new challenges. A P90X related one and one for the summer solstice. So the month of June, for whatever reason, I don't think it's specific to June 21st or whatever, 22nd, whenever the solstice is. But anyway, challenges are so rare that I feel like they justify being talked about. Anyway, what I think is the most exciting news that we got this week is the wild rumors abound that were, they're not necessarily confirmed, but it's been suggested that we are getting 2 new Xboxes coming out. Of course, there will likely be a ton of information at E3 coming up in a week from now, but based on 2 different leaks per se, we've got a story from The Verge and a story from Kotaku, and they're both talking about 2 new devices, but they don't necessarily agree on the details. So we don't quite know what it is, but there are suggestions that there is a device coming out in 2016, that's this year, that will be essentially the slim model, that we should expect a smaller, more cheaper, compact Xbox. There are suggestions it might have a 2 terabyte hard drive. Again, details that are just rampant speculation right now, but those are some just suggestions. The bigger one, the more exciting one, is Project the codename Scorpio, which is supposed to be the 2017, is supposed to be a more powerful Xbox, specifically in the GPU, that will support Oculus Rift VR. That's the concept that they're going with. Of course, the Oculus has that relationship with the Xbox in terms of having a controller that works and some, being able to play games in your Oculus in a virtual theater type thing. But it sounds like we might actually get VR here as an announcement. So this kind of leads into what we kind of talk about a little bit here with what we expect at E3. But we've got new Xboxes on the horizon. Prue, what do you think? What you looking forward to a new Xbox?
Yes, please. I'll take 2 if that's what they're going to give us. If this year is the Slim and next year is the Elite, yes, absolutely. We were talking before the show, and I was like, yeah, if they said the Slim version's coming out in the fall, I kind of need a new Xbox, so that would be perfect. And then but next year there's coming out with a better version. Yeah, they're probably going to sucker me into getting both of them, honestly.
Oh my goodness, that sounds expensive.
It does, yeah.
I mean, they can't. I think, based on the tenets that Phil has set forth, he is very much in terms of maintaining your games catalog straight through. Do you think, aside from the Oculus stuff, the VR stuff, that this new Xbox would have specific games that wouldn't work on the existing Xbox? I suppose if they are graphically enhanced, you'd have to, right?
Yeah, to me, I don't think they're going to split the base like that. I mean, yeah, it makes sense if they're going to be like, buy the new Xbox. It's the Oculus Enhanced or whatever they end up calling it, Xbox. That's what you can play those games on. But I feel like if you have the base version of the Xbox One, they're not going to shut you off from new games unless they're fancy new VR games or fancy new whatever games. Like, they're not from standard kind of off-the-shelf games. They're not going to cut people off. I don't think that they're going to do that. That's too much of a risk. That's too big of a chance. And that's okay for me. Like, that's fine. And I'll get the new one because I'll want to get, I want a new Xbox Plus. Hey, why wouldn't I want VR achievements as well?
Yeah, do you think they'll follow suit like with what PCs do, where you can do like a high, a high fidelity type experience where they, the graphics are enhanced and you can toggle that based on which, system you're playing on?
To me, it seems like they'll make it as simple as possible. So it'll be just like either you have, kind of like the N64 with the extra RAM pack that came with that kind of a thing, I feel like that's kind of how it's going to be. Like, if you have this extra thing will run better. Maybe there's a game or two that can't run without it, but for the most part, everybody's kind of on the same playing field.
Nice. What about you, Em? Are you in the market for a new Xbox, or will any of these new versions entice you?
I want to say no. Okay, realistically, with the Slim version, if they release a Slim Gears of War Xbox, I'm in a lot of trouble. But outside of that, I don't see myself buying a Slim version just to have a Slim version. I've been fairly fortunate. I know that a lot of folks with day one Xbox Ones are reporting a lot of issues with them, just read errors and things that's, similar to when you were an early adopter of a 360 if you were one. I've been pretty fortunate. I haven't had any of those issues with my Xbox One. I have an external hard drive already. It's pretty set. And insofar as the other bigger Xbox coming in the future, I'm just, oh my god, my Xbox just turned on. It doesn't do that when I want it to. Anyway.
Yay,
technology. Well, I was going to mention the Kinect actually, so here we go. It knows I'm talking about it. So my concern is I'm not sold on VR. I'm really not sold on VR, and I think this comes from my place as someone who really likes co-op games. VR co-op doesn't work to me. We would both need a headset, right, to be able to see the experience. So I'm just not sold on it. altogether. And I think that that's going to become a bigger issue as VR is out there. I think it'll be very similar in trajectory to Kinect. It's going to come out. It's going to have a real big kind of like insertion rate into households because it's new and it's cool. And then it'll cool off when people realize, well, there's really not that much to develop for it, and people get sick when they're playing in VR for long periods of time and all this other stuff. So my concern is now we have a console that has a higher GPU, more processing power, that even though their vision is you're still going to get your games, but do I want my games in lower resolution when I know the other guy's getting it in higher resolution because they sprung for this other thing? That doesn't compel developers to release it on both the older hardware and the new hardware. So I have some concerns about where that's going to go. So I will not be an early adopter of a new high-end console. If it has a lot of traction and it picks up, I will upgrade eventually because I have to. But barring a special Gears of War Edition Slim console, I don't see myself picking up either of those right away.
I can see it. Big L, do you need a new Xbox?
I have a day one console, and I'm having one of those problems where when I put a disc in, I sometimes have to eject it and put it back in 5-10 times before it gets it to read.
Oh, no.
I used to be a physical-only guy. Now I like the digital. It's easy. You don't have to deal with anything. And
Yep.
now I'm on the other side. And I hate to buy another Xbox just because my $500+ console is having problems. I would sooner try to get it repaired somehow. On Microsoft's dime, of course. Because I'm not paying for that. Like Michelle said, like maybe if I needed one for another room. But I got a 360 in the other room. I'm still playing that, so don't need it.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to get pressured by my son to get a new one at some point. Like, hey, when's mine going in my room? It's like, well, you know which one's going in your room is the one that's down here because Dad's getting himself a VR one. But I can't imagine. I mean, that's a big chunk of change to get a VR system.
I have
up
a
and
question.
Going. What's that?
The Japanese VR is going to have visual novels.
Ooh, there you go. Experience the visual novel.
Yeah.
Well, aside from that amazing question that people will now ponder, another thing that we have to realize with, the fancy new GPU enhanced, ready for the Oculus Xbox, is you will not only have to buy that Xbox, but also an Oculus.
Right.
So you're really buying that with the intention of buying another $400 or $600 piece of hardware. So now you're spending almost, they may release that new Xbox at $300, like, ooh, look, cheap price. But the intention is to get you to buy another $400 piece of hardware. And again, if you have two kids and you want to do something co-op, now you're buying a second $400 piece of hardware. I'm just, that boggles my mind. So, but who knows what they're actually going to do or how it will work, or if it'll be bundled sort of like Elite controllers were bundled with Xbox's last holiday season.
Yeah. You know what I think would be interesting, though, is because you essentially will have this console, although it will be supporting Oculus, that you could do cross gaming where somebody is interfacing with the TV and then someone with the headset, right? And so maybe it's a tower defense, right? And so you've got a hero with the controller running around on screen, and the VR guy's in a turret up in a tower protecting him or something. Right. You're trying to come up with unique gameplay mechanics where you can still do a living room co-op experience. And it's not gonna replace having two people in a VR world together. I mean you definitely need two headsets for that. But there are some games that are trying to broach the idea of cooperative gaming and playing with others. I think it's ultimately going to come down to kind of just being on a service. If they get this into a multiplayer scenario where it's it's a VR avatar meeting up with another VR avatar and playing a game, that you're doing it via multiplayer connection versus couch co-op type setup. And to be, I mean, again, this is the earliest iterations of VR. There's just so much room to grow in this arena that I'm very curious as to how it's going to pan out. But as an early adopter, I mean, yeah, you are going to pay an arm and a leg to experience this.
Well, I feel too like do we really like understand how VR works, right? It's not that you're, to my understanding, right? You don't put on the headset and now you walk around this world. You put on the headset and sit still and use a controller, but you move your head around to see that things are in a 3D environment, right? So
kind of.
It's not like it changes how you engage the game because now you're seeing things in 3 dimensions.
Yeah.
But it doesn't change the gameplay or the fundamental elements of the game. You're still going to hold a controller. You're still going to press a trigger button to fire. You're still going to, and the hooks of it that might be unique. Like maybe you can say something, or like we've already done that with Kinect. So I get what you're saying though. There are some games that do utilize not needing 2 people with a VR headset. I saw one last year that was about defusing a bomb.
Yeah, that one's great.
And it's great. It's one player has the guidebook, and one player is in the VR and can see the bomb, and the player has 2 minutes to say to the person with the book what they see. I see 5 wires. I see 2 red wires. I see a blue wire, and the player with the book has to communicate to the other person what they cut so the bomb doesn't blow up. Yep. That's great. There's another game where it's like you have 60 seconds. And you're supposed to entertain a crowd, and while you're entertaining the crowd in the VR headset, the crowd can be there throwing bananas at you, right? Someone else can be pressing the button.
Yeah.
But these games both are 60-second intervals and 2-minute intervals.
Well, yeah, what you're getting now is a lot of tech demos.
Right.
I mean, like, once I think PlayStation VR or now that the headsets are really coming out, you're starting to see like games, like actual games being launched. And I think the biggest challenge, and if you listen to many of the industry people, they're saying we're stuck in kind of tech demo land now, and there are so many developers out there looking at the biggest challenge right now is locomotion.
Right.
Because you can do. I mean, you're effectively you become the right analog stick.
Right.
That's easy. If you have controller type movement sensors, or you're using the Lighthouse, or however they're tracking your movement, like you can have some semblance of being able to move around. But how can you effectively travel large distances without physically moving there? And so, one of the easy shortcuts is kind of teleporting. So there's one, it was like a wizard battle one where you throw potions, and wherever that potion lands, that's where you warp to, right? And so you have a different perspective because you're moving around the battlefield as a stationary target. Okay, IGN just had, and I watched this, the Paranormal Activity game, where you are wandering around the house, and so to move forward, you have to like subtly lean forward, and that'll make your character walk that direction. And everything's done with you had to use your hands to open doors, open drawers, look around in a big scary house, right? And that's a game experience. That's not it's probably not that long, maybe a half hour, but that's a game experience, right? That's a little bit beyond a tech demo. Hearing stuff about Golem, the game coming out for PlayStation VR, like that's intended to be a game experience, a legitimate campaign, and how that plays out, I guess I don't quite know, but that's the hurdle they're coming up with. But with so many developers looking into it, and there's actually news today that a developer is working on an Xbox VR game. Again, then if they're working on it now, that's probably 3 years in development, or that we can expect a product in 2 to 3 years. But that these things are coming. It's just, I mean, because when we look at old school, like Resident Evil, right? When we first played Resident Evil, and you had tank controls, static cameras, because people didn't know how to control a character in 3D space.
Right.
It was just weird and confusing. And now it's like, oh my God, yeah, 2 sticks, right? Movement stick, look stick. Yeah, this, and we're so glad that everyone has kind of agreed to that this is the standard.
Right.
we'll get to that point. I just don't know when. I don't know how long it's going to take, and whether or not it can sustain. Because you're right, Kinect, for all intents and purposes, could have been that really unique, right? In the Wii, that there was something there, and then it just totally fizzled out.
Well, and I think you're going to see this again from VR. So you take the Wii, obviously it's a great example, and the Kinect. For both of them, when they were launched, they launched with the sports demo type games, but they both also launched with other games. Well, I don't know that was launched for the Wii, but the Wii had a game called, I think, The Adventures of Zack and Wiki, that came out not too far after launch, which was it's this adventure. You're kind of finding treasure and you're going through things, and then like Elebits, these other titles that came out. When the Kinect launched, there were games like Rise of Nightmares that came out. This was an actual game where you had to, sort of similar to what you're explaining, you had to step forward a little bit and then you'd walk, or you could take a big step forward and you'd run. And so you got these games fairly early on that tried to be games, and you know what happened? No one bought them. Because they came out and they got, well, these games aren't great. It's a good concept, but, if you're going to spend $60, get Just Dance. Well, now it just shoots the whole concept in the foot, because these companies are not making the money to reinvest in continuing to make better games. And I think we're just going to see the same thing from the VR.
It's possible. From right here, though, the experience is unlike anything you've ever played, and so
I'm sure.
that could be the selling point. Is you're right? Like, yeah, okay, I'm moving around and interfacing with a TV still. That's cool, but it's a gimmick. Whereas this, It's like, I mean, if you listen to some people are like, I don't even want to play like normal games anymore. I just want to be in a VR world. And it's like, wow, that's coming, it's pretty high praise coming from someone who works in the video game industry.
Right.
So we'll see. Prue, what about you? Do you, I think, let me just add this. I think the thing that I'm most happy about with this announcement, rumor, is that Xbox is partnering with Oculus.
Yes.
I'm so happy that they're not like, yes, and we're going to do it ourselves. Like, no. Just let Oculus do it and find a way to, hold their hands. You guys can go, tandem bicycle all the way to the promised land.
Absolutely.
Don't do it on your own.
Not having experienced any of it at all, I'm not convinced, like many people are, that this is the second coming of games at this point. But I agree. I'm glad that they're kind of getting on board, partnering with somebody that who's synonymous really with VR. If it was just them being like, oh, and this is our thing that we're going to do now, then I would be more kind of skeptical about it. But the fact that it's like, oh no, we're with Oculus, so okay, all right, maybe there is something, and maybe they can partner with them and all of the people that are involved. To kind of push all of that, if it does become the next big thing, which we're kind of it's kind of being forced on us that's what it's going to happen. I can't think of a better partner for Microsoft to have.
Well, because it's not going to be Sony, that's for sure. Something tells me they're not going to be holding hands.
Well, and certainly that's the early temptation, right? When Sony comes out and says, "Look, we're going to do a VR." It's just like what happened with Nintendo did the Wii. It was very successful, so Microsoft made Kinect, and PlayStation made Move, and they had different levels of success, but they all invested the R&D time and the marketing time and all that other stuff, the manpower and the hours. This was brilliant by Microsoft to just say, you know what, if it's great, we have a partner here. As Prue just said, that everyone knows these are the guys in this kind of environment. And if it's a failure, well, they didn't spend a whole bunch of time on it, so it's okay. They just write off the loss on that company. Yeah,
and actually, I mean, people in the industry are saying, so if you take PlayStation VR, the Oculus, and the Vive, kind of as your three pillars of the VR community, they actually say that the Oculus is probably the worst one. That they've got the least in terms of performance, but what they do have is Facebook money. And the name, the recognition, like the first one, right? Of course, PlayStation is going to have the install base, right? They're gonna have 40 million PlayStation owners who are much closer to picking one of these up. And then the Vive is touting with the lighthouses, you so much more freedom of movement than you're going to get with the other headsets. And it's like, it's kind of interesting to see you've got these different aspects in play here, and who's going to be able to capitalize on this market the best. Again, competition's best for everybody, but
absolutely.
Who knows?
And PlayStation's going to have a similar issue to the one we're discussing here that Microsoft might have if this is actually official, and I guess it's the same for PlayStation, but they're also talking about a 4.5, where really the whole purpose of it is to be the PlayStation VR console. So it wouldn't really use the install base, because you'd have to convince these 20 to 40 million people, however many it is, to now buy a new console and buy the new gear.
Yeah. I think one last kind of thing here just to add, and what I mentioned earlier about Phil Spencer's motto. Here's a quote from him, which I love. It says, "We can effectively feel a little more like what we see on PC, where I can still go back and run my old Doom and Quake games that I ran so many years ago and still see the best new 4K games come out. And my whole library is always with me." I mean, that's kind of his, and that's the end of the quote. That's kind of his concept with his backwards compatibility and just trying to get all the games of, it's like, because, I can go back and play King's Quest on my laptop here, right? The old, what I ran on my 386 gateway or whatever. It's like, I can run that, no problem. It's, it's going to run like garbage because it's such an old game and antiquated mechanics, but I have that, that goes to with these new Xboxes is I don't think we'll be left in the lurch with having, games that we can't play. It'll be cross compatible, and you'll just have the access to high, fancy, snazzy new games, and ones that work with VR. But what about Big L? Would you do you like VR at all? Have you ever tried it?
Oh yeah, there was this Nintendo system this one time, and it was all
Virtual
in
Boy?
red. Yeah, it was all in red, and yeah, that worked out, right?
Nice. Now we're talking.
Yeah, that's about the only experience I've ever had with that.
Gotcha. Well, we'll see. I mean, we've got it's coming up in a couple of weeks here, E3. I'm excited. I'm excited for the announcements. One last thing that Big L just slid right into the news here, which is fascinating, Big L. I'm glad you brought this to my attention. You, if you live in Canada, your gamer score can actually get you a discount on your on an Xbox One. They're running a promotion where, based on how high your gamer score is, you can qualify up to $75 cash, like a rebate code, a discount code. So you gotta log in, then you buy this system, then you log in with your Xbox account, and they'll look at your gamer score. And if you have scored, here it is. What do you think for $75? How high do you think we need to go?
I have no idea.
I mean, are you thinking of the reward program?
I imagine, it's like the reward program. So 75,000 points would make you a master. That would put you at the top level. So 1,000 points per dollar rebate.
It is 25,000 gamer score. That's where it caps out at. If you got yourself up to 10,000, you get a $40 discount. 15,000 gets you up to a 55. 25,000, 65. And if you're over 25,000 gamer score, $75 discount on your Xbox One.
That's good to be Canadian.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's
people
right.
always say, "What's that gamer score worth?" Right?
Apparently.
And now it could be worth something.
$75, yeah.
Actually, Michelle and I were playing Payday 2 the other day, and some randoms would always jump in, and we would go look at their gamer scores, and they were always like 2,000, 5,000. So yeah, it's very interesting.
Totally agree. I don't know. That's a whole nother thing. So that's pretty much it for the news. We have just a couple things of listener feedback here to touch on. We did get our monthly iTunes update as to what we people leaving reviews, and so Tatey left one on the UK servers. Again, we have very little access to the UK iTunes store, so So thank you, Tatey. This was left back literally 1 month ago on April 28th, saying, awesome show for Achievement Hunters. Nice long shows with a good layout and funny hosts. So thank you, Tatey, for that. We really appreciate it. And if you guys out there, listeners, could take an opportunity to leave a review somewhere, that super helps to get the show out there. Of course, all your tweets and Facebook messages and TA friend feeds, that all helps too. So we definitely couldn't do that without you. So most of the questions all revolve around E3 this year. And so we'll start off with Saucy Slingo says, what do you guys think of HoloLens? And do you think we're going to see more games for the HoloLens announced at E3 this year? And what do you think?
When I went to PAX East this year, a question actually was raised about HoloLens, and I don't remember exactly the context. But the answer to the question made it seem as if we're a little misguided in viewing HoloLens as a gaming device. Like it seemed like it was more a multifunctional kind of tool that they were developing for other things, but that will also have gaming applications. Sort of the opposite of Kinect, where it's a gaming device, but it had other applications, like it was used in like crash testing for vehicles and things like that. So I'm not sure how much. I don't know that we're going to see anything more than another Minecraft type tech demo. But I don't really think we're going to see all that much about HoloLens, given at least my impression from what was stated at that time.
Sure, Big L, do you share that viewpoint?
Sure. If Michelle says it, it's got to be true.
What about you, Prue? Then are you as adamant as Big L is to follow suit?
Yeah, well, I don't really see. I mean, there are cool applications I think that developers could kind of come up with. It's just that it's kind of limited in its scope. So I don't know. It's tough to say. I can kind of see people taking it and running with it, but on the other hand, I kind of feel like it's just, like she mentioned, it's just going to be kind of a tech demo, and that's probably all we're going to see from it.
You, you literally said everything I wanted to say. Like it is a productivity device as it stands now. It's too expensive,
right?
With the technology is amazing. I mean, it's so cool, but it's what, $3,500 for a dev kit. I mean, that's so cost prohibitive right now that until they develop a business function for it that a business is likely to purchase, then you're not going to get it to a commercial level where John Q Gamer can pick it up and play. It's so cool and fascinating. I love the idea of augmented reality, but I don't think, and I don't think they're in a position it that way, that the gaming is going to be the avenue with which they get this into the market. It's going to be, Skype on the go in your office. It's going to be, PowerPoints up on wherever, that's how they're going to approach this, mm-hmm. and maybe even like focus on the academic side of it, like they did with the being on the surface of Mars, exactly. And having collaborative science efforts together, and discount it to universities for research projects, whatnot. With all of that being said, of course, games will likely occur, but those will be like, people in their free time coming up with game concepts and stuff. I don't think a developer is going to say, yep, and I'm going to hang my hat on HoloLens game development, and that's going to save the company. It doesn't sound like a smart business plan. And what you'll likely end up seeing is I don't think we'll actually see any. Maybe we'll see a little bit at E3. It'll likely be in support of other games, like they did with the Halo experience or the Minecraft experience, that they will use it to kind of immerse the audience in an aspect of a game that is not a HoloLens game per se. It's interesting concepts, but it's not a HoloLens activity. And then save the HoloLens stuff for their Windows 10 events, like the one they had in January or February or whatever it was, and focus more on the computer tech side of it and leave E3 for gaming. So I don't think we're going to see really anything from HoloLens. If you if you made me put together my bingo card this year, I'm going to leave HoloLens off my bingo card. There's just so many game titles that are easy fits. I mean, I think we pretty much know the games lineup that you got. I have 24 spaces. HoloLens isn't making that list.
Yeah, I think too that Microsoft's been really on point the last couple of years about, like you just said, E3 is about the games. They've been really good about that messaging, and HoloLens was present, but only in, like you said, in support of Minecraft. It was another way to show something about Minecraft. It's a super cool piece of technology, but I don't see anyone really owning it in their home at any point. That's not the intention of it.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, it would be sweet for augmented reality horror games, like, actually in your home. That would be just terrifying. But yeah, I don't see it mass market. But Keith 271179 asks, in relation to those games at E3, are there any games you would like to see as surprise announcements at E3? He personally wants to see a new Burnout game, hopefully Paradise 2. Anything that it's easy when you got some of those rumors floating around about what is going to be. I mean, I personally am crazy pumped about hearing about a Red Dead Redemption 2. Mm-hmm. That's got me flipping out here. But anything that maybe isn't a rumor out there that piques your interest? Big L, what about you?
Well, I would love, of course, Michelle and I, would, speaking for her, would love if there was a new addition to the Army of Two series. That would be wonderful. That was probably our first major co-op experience. We grabbed it
that was another
right before they announced the server closure. Yeah, the server closure story. Thank you, EA. And we finished it the day before the servers closed. We finished all the online co-op. And then we proceeded to do the campaign in local co-op, where achievements do pop for both people, so that was a good thing. So a remastering of the trilogy, or a fourth edition. I guess it did fairly well that they made 3 of them. Who knows?
Yeah, that's pretty surprising. And anything that you're itching for, whatever like Ubisoft secret game might be, or
I honestly, I would love to see another Ubi art game, like Valiant Hearts or Rayman.
Yeah, I'm ready for a new Rayman.
Beyond Good and Evil has been teased several times over the years, a sequel to that, and has not as yet happened. I don't think it will. But things of that nature. I don't have a specific thing in mind, but I'd love to see something else using the Ubi art engine get some feature time at the show.
Yeah, I'm totally on board with that. I'm a little biased in saying that I'd love to see what Undead Labs is cooking up, their follow-up to State of Decay, whether or not they can get to what they alluded to when they first, their pie-in-the-sky idea of Class 4, where it's essentially a shared world / MMO zombie world. That I said world like 4 times in that sentence, but some type of persistent online, like Ark with zombies, Ark Survival Evolved with zombies. That's what I'm itching for. I hope something along those lines. I think I'll get my update on Dead Rising's new game. I'll get some Dying Light announcements. I'll get what's the other Dead Island 2. I mean, I'll get plenty of zombie news, but I want more. I can't help myself.
But no Left 4 Dead 3 because we all know Valve's issues.
They can't count to 3.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, come on, please give us Left 4 Dead 3.
Is that what you're looking forward to as a secret announcement, Prue?
I mean, there are many that I would love. I would love to see Left 4 Dead 3. I would love to see the Mass Effect Andromeda, which we've just recently learned is going to be pushed into 2017. So, I don't know what I would say specifically for Microsoft or for the Xbox, but I just more games. More games is where it's at, right?
I think you will be pleasantly surprised with how many games they're going to talk about. I think that's going to be a big focus again this year, and it should be. It definitely should be. Are you guys gonna watch? Do you guys like to watch them live-ish?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I like to, but my job is going to preclude me from doing that this year, unfortunately. So I will probably still follow, like, jump into like TA chat or whatever and see if
Sure.
people, because one of my favorite parts of E3 is figuring out like which first party publisher paid the most money to have X game developer go speak on their stage.
Yep.
So I'm gonna kind of miss that part of it, so that we can hear like this is coming exclusively to Xbox in 2017 to people with a name that begins with the letter A or whatever, all the special exclusions so they can later release it on something else. But yeah, unfortunately, I'm not gonna be able to watch live this year.
That's too bad. Yeah, and I'm always, it's always questionable for me. Depends on how busy my Mondays are, but
I'll have to sneak it on my phone at work.
Well,
Yeah.
it's
try.
Monday morning. You should be able to.
Oh, I remember. It's been a year already, huh? I remember Crackdown being announced. That's what
Yes.
we're looking forward to. Unlike Crandy, who did not like that game, that's another fun Turtle Beach game where you hear the orbs and you could hear where they're coming from in your headset.
And then you
Yeah.
hear them for the next.
I love
4 or
those
5
orbs. I love those orbs.
Oh, good.
for
That was-
sure.
Way back in the day, I wrote a TA top 5 on game noises specifically because I wanted to include the orbs. That was the whole reason for pitching that idea.
That's awesome. So, Big L, you love the sound of orbs, but Kaiba
Dude.
Chaos asks,
Uh-oh.
why does Big L hate leaderboards so much?
Oh, boy. Well, if I could be controversial for a minute.
I would expect nothing less.
Well, actually, I came under fire because I gave a rare criticism that I did not enjoy Tarragon's reading of all the top scorers on TA. Well, this is probably hypocritical considering we're doing an achievement podcast, but I just don't relate to people who have a million gamer score. I play around 2 to 3 hours a night, and I have 200,000 now, so I can't even imagine how many hours these people are playing. So I just can't relate to it. And the 4 of us combined, I did some math, have a little bit over 700,000. So, yeah. So someone having a million gamer score, I don't know. I don't want to say they have no life, but they have no life.
Well, it's just they choose their life to do something else. I mean, like, I
they must
enjoy
be
baseball, but like, I just don't have the ability to play professional baseball.
Right.
And and so yeah, hey, I admire them for being able to do what they do.
There are
I
also
like the gaming I get to play and do what I like to do, but
there are also all sorts of rabbit holes you can go down. I know you guys discussed, like, when's it okay for you to get an achievement that you didn't really get?
right.
And who knows? Like, we don't know how they game in actuality. But if there are things like when we were doing Connect Nat Geo and 3 of us got the achievement for 1 person doing the work, who knows how much of that's going on and all that. That's what they choose to do to get those ridiculously high gamer scores. You need a certain level of skill to be able to do that because you're not going to get there just on easy games.
I don't know. I think they have little gnomes come in helping them out. That's what I think.
But you may
Underpants gnomes.
I mean, well, you have that guy, that's great at Guitar Hero, and you have him over, and he bangs out a couple songs for you and gets those toughest achievements. And maybe that's what you do to have over a million gamer score. Maybe that's not. But I actually agree with Elle that I know how I play, and my friends all play kind of similar, and we're all kind of in the same mindset. And other than very specific leaderboard categories where, like, I'm in there to some degree, I'm in the same boat. I don't really pay attention to leaderboards too much.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm sorry.
I was going to say it's tough with this hobby because there are just so many ways to approach it, right? Because like Prue, Big L to a certain extent, like completions are nice. Like I like completions. I have a game and I try to do everything that the developer wants me to do. So that's kind of my goal with each game. I don't feel obligated to have 2,000 games on my tag.
Mhm.
I don't feel obligated to play, the new Call of Duty every year. I'm going to play a game that I think is fun. I'm going to get out of it what I can. If there's some achievements left hanging, so be it. They might bother me, like, oh boy, I should really go back and play that game on Veteran. But I don't feel obligated. And, now that I'm game sharing with Terrigan in this massive list of games that he just keeps buying piles up, it's like, oh my God, I got to play a soccer game? I don't want to play a soccer game. But 63% of TA has completed it. Oh, and it only takes 3 to 4 hours. Well, there's 2 nights.
Right.
Then you put it in perspective, and you're like, oh man, I'm going to waste 2 nights getting 1,000 gamer score in a soccer game that I probably am not going to enjoy that much, but I'm going to have 1,000 gamer score out of it. And all of a sudden now it's, okay, now I'm hating myself for it. And, it's weird.
There's too many games out there. You're not going to play them all. So, yeah, have fun.
I think there's something to be said that the concept of fun, because for people who have those very high gamer scores, it's not about the games. Not for all of them. They do have games they like, I'm sure. But the fun of it is getting that gamer score. The game that you're playing doesn't matter. You pop in a visual novel, you get that 1,000. That's the satisfaction. So they're just playing and enjoying their games in a different way. And we all obviously are part of that to some degree because we all play for gamer score. That's the reason I assume that most of us are not PlayStation and Nintendo gamers. I'd love to play a Zelda title again, but given how many games I already have to play and the gamer score attached to them, I'm not going to first get a Wii to play Zelda, even though it's probably superior to 90% of my catalog. The fun is in the achievement.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
If there is one leaderboard that I do follow, and this will tie into something else, and that, of course, is wrestling games. The good thing about that is there's only 20 wrestling games to play. So, speaking of
the Hill,
I'm in the top 2 or 3 of most of the categories. And speaking of wrestling, my good friend McLovin Legend and I have become good Twitter buddies, and he is always tweeting about wrestling. And as a matter of fact, Em and I went to a pay-per-view event in New Jersey on Sunday, and McLovin Legend was live tweeting the whole time, so he is up at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning in the UK, and he's tweeting, I love John Cena, he's my favorite wrestler, and I want to marry him one day, and yeah, he's doing all that stuff.
Well, as of recording, it's 8 a.m. there now, so they're all awake by now. There should be. So.
Should get him in here to wrap it up, tag out for one of us.
There you go.
Attack.
Bring it right back to wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so that's going to be it for listener segment. With just wrap up here with some closing topics. We do have absolutely no knobs and discos this week. There's nothing. Nothing was broken. Nothing was fixed. So that's both good and bad.
I got a TA Forza 3. Or did you go into that last time?
We did mention that last time that the servers went down. They're back up.
Okay.
Then there was a submission that they were back down. False alarm. That's not the case. They still indeed are working.
Actually, something else just happened. Killer Instinct Mural, whatever that is back as of today. So that's something was fixed.
Breaking
news from the TA feed.
Thanks, Big L. We did have some backwards compatible titles hit the Twitter feed. Major Nelson announced DuckTales Remastered, XCOM Enemy Unknown, which of course is Games with Gold next month, Hexic 2, Magic 2012, Domino Master, Unbound Saga, and SSX.
All right. I personally love backwards compatibility, by the way.
I do too.
And a lot of the games run smoother on the one, and bringing up the achievement list is a lot faster than the old
the
360s that I have.
Almost superior to the 360.
You can do
what
party
I don't
chat
care for is when you get booted offline every now and again. That sucks.
I've not had that happen to me, but I've heard about that.
Really?
Yeah, I think they should come out with an app or a feature where you can automatically upload all of your local saves on your 360 to cloud saves for backwards compatibility titles.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it comes out like, this week it's going to be this title that's going to be backwards compatible, I'll have to boot up my 360 and upload the save to the cloud and then download it from the, it's just like, I wish they could just do that seamlessly.
Totally agree.
And that's the only thing to me that is an irritation, because I love every time I'm like, oh, I would love to play this on the one.
Yeah.
Just let me play my save on the one as well. I will upload all of my saves to the cloud, but I don't want to do it manually.
Like a dashboard update where you could just go into your storage and then hit upload saves, right? Just one button, upload it all. Because I do that too. I have saves. It's like, oh, well, hold on. Because then if you start the game and my default is always my external hard drive, and so it's like, oh crap, wait, do I? And then you start up the game and you're like, oh man, there's nothing here. Oh yeah, I went to the cloud with it because of for whatever reason. So yeah, I agree. That would be actually super helpful. I don't think it exists though. Finally, though, we are going to wrap up with zombie news. The one piece that I held from last week to this week. Apparently, there is a Walking Dead theme park attraction that is in Hollywood Universal Studios, and it's going to have a year-round Walking Dead attraction where they're actually going to have animatronics like from the movie, and they're actually going to have people like painted up like zombies and stuff for this experience. So my sister lives out in LA. I am going to try and find a way to get out there for this. This sounds awesome.
Nice.
I don't necessarily like being scared, but anyway, it comes out July 4th, the Walking Dead attraction. And it's going to be at both the Hollywood, Universal Studios in Hollywood and in Orlando. Because they do have like mazes, like seasonal mazes, like for Halloween, and like scary nights every now and again, but no like year-round attraction. And this is going to be one. Awesome. So that's Zombie News Piece A. Zombie News Piece B, that probably appeals to more people here, but Major Nelson announced that the Deadlight Director's Cut is now available for pre-order, pre-download. And so I said, oh, hey, I wonder what that looks like. And so I queued it up on Xbox.com. So it's a $20 game. And for me, it came up as $10. So is this a 50% discount to owners of Deadlight?
And it was free, so most people should have it.
Yes. So there is a chance you can upgrade your Deadlight game for $10. Of course, this is the exact same game that was on the 360, but they have added some weird survival mode, which I have no idea how that's going to work in this game. But there's some sort of arena battle mode. That being said, easy gamer score.
Yes.
It's super simple.
And now it's going to be 1,000 G.
1,000 points on the one.
Speaking of gamer score, do you guys know what Major Nelson's gamer score is?
Oh, it's a great question.
Is it like 80,000 or something?
Yeah, it's 89,000, and he's got 617 games on his tag.
That's a ton of games.
18% completion, yes.
Talk about a bean diver.
Yeah.
Man.
I have a similar game count to him, I want to say. That doesn't sound like a lot. Like, I have 659 on my tag. And considering he's Major Nelson and has all this access to all of this stuff, that actually doesn't sound like that many.
That's true.
You know, he's, to be fair, given his role, he gets a game, he puts it in, plays a little bit so he can see it and tweet about it or whatever. And then
he is on TA.
Yes, he is. But I don't know that he's been on...
He has... Well, unlike you, he has 8 Windows Phone games, and you have about 312. So.
Well, you got to take advantage of the platform.
Right. I
mean,
that's probably where the discrepancy is.
I've moved on from my Windows Phone, but...
Nice. That's fantastic. Well, I want to thank my wonderful co-host this week, Big L. Matriarch, and Prue. You guys, this was fantastic. I really enjoyed getting an opportunity to record a show with you guys. Hopefully everything works from the editing and recording standpoint. Otherwise, if it didn't, we had a great conversation for a couple hours.
Sure.
And if we did manage to get a podcast out, we hope you all enjoyed listening to it because it was fun.
Thank
That
you
being
so much
said,
for
though,
having us.
Yeah, thank you. for having us.
absolutely. We'll do this again. So, and I think because you guys are on the show now, that does not necessarily rule you out for future shows. We'll see what random.org says. Maybe I have to tweak it so that I can prioritize people who haven't been on the show. But I can't not rule people out. My life revolves around randomness. So, and just to set the record straight, Big L and M were a package deal. They counted as one person. So.
We share a brain.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
we definitely
Couldn't
don't
have one
share
without the other.
Hopefully no one unsubscribes after hearing me.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how you're going to get your new podcast going.
Uh-oh.
but-
Nah.
What I do want to ask is all of our listeners out there, if you guys could help us out by leaving reviews and ratings on your podcast apps, that's super helpful for us, like I mentioned earlier. Of course, keep going to our website, z2z.com, where you can find show notes. There's going to be links, credits, all the people who helped us out with this show. It's super fun to find the Easter eggs that are hidden throughout. And at some point, there will be a forum where all this stuff is embedded as well. We're totally working on that. You, of course, can contact us on Twitter at Z2Z. That's ZEDTOZED. Email us directly, contact@z2z.com. The leaderboard over at trueachievements.com. That is where the announcement went out for hosts. So if you're not on the leaderboard, you should jump on there because Terrigan sent out an email with the bat signal, essentially, or the big L signal, whatever you want to call it, to get some help. Because hey, who knows? Terrigan woke up yesterday morning feeling pretty sick, so that's why he's not on the show.
The big L signal comes when someone makes a spelling or grammar mistake, by the way.
There it is. So those types of things are going to come up. Course contests, announcements, anything that we have. Massed PMs through TA are super, super helpful. So jump on that website. I also want to give a quick shout out to the sites that helped us out. IGN, Engadget this week helped out. We got Microsoft by themselves tweeted out plenty of news. Of course, The Verge, Kotaku with the new rumors that they have unearthed from wherever they got inside sources within Microsoft, I'm sure, who are super credible. And of course, we couldn't do this without trueachievements.com. They are a wonderful resource for tracking all of these delightful stats that we tend to hold so dearly. And it keeps our game collections in a nice digital forum that we don't have to do on spreadsheets like I do. That being said, we couldn't do this without Microsoft in giving us this console, and of whatever amalgamations of the console will come out in the end of 2016 and in 2017, and maybe our Xbox-branded Oculus, skinned VR headsets that will be down the road. So, on behalf of Prue, Matriarch, Big L, and myself, Brandon, and to all you achievement hunters and Gamerscore junkies out there, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next episode. That's why I don't have an accent. But if I ever go back out east, you better believe when I talk to my Jersey relatives, all says, "Hey, what the hell, man? That's terrible. You gotta be kidding me." I sound like a Benny. It's ridiculous.
The one thing that bothers me about that show is that Donatello's missing tooth, and it's such a small detail.
Sure.
But I'm like, give that to Michelangelo or somebody else. It just makes the least sense for Donatello.
Here's the coffee I made. An hour ago.
Well, it's iced coffee now.
little bit of quiet, get some background noise.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't help, Elle.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, we got you. And we can edit all this out, too. I'm sure Tarragon will be vindictive and leave it in, though.
Hi, Tarragon. That's my Tarragon of virtue.
We heard her say something like, my babies, or something.
Oh my goodness! Oh, I walked right by you.
Oh, shit. I don't want to hear you say it again.
That one got recorded, actually.
Who are you?
I'll take that.